Ay, hintayin lang natin yung ibang tao dito. Ibang taong kasama. Tagal nung iba. No. Yung audio. Hello, check. Okay. Ayun, ano pala si sir. Ayun, welcome sir. Si Tio
Hello.
kaya, sama kaya si
Sino-sino
Ayun.
tayo? Sino-sino tayo? Ikaw?
Ako, tong bagong kasama po, alias yan, di ba? Si Josh, isasama ko. Si Tio, hindi ko sure kung sasama po si Tio actually.
Mhm.
So, ayan, anyway, simulan natin. Paano nag-record simulan na natin itong
Mhm.
Feeling ko din ewan, sana sumama si Tio kung gusto niya.
Yeah, I think we should not
Hindi,
really
sige, hindi
watch.
na mag-open na lang din akong camera para.
I think we should not really watch the entire thing
Ano
because
po yan?
I think we should not watch the entire thing because number one, it's going to tire us out, and then we're not going to productively comment on these people because if we watch the entirety of it, we will only get mad and then eventually wala tayong masasabi. So, yun lang.
Eh, yun nga eh. Yeah, I get it po yan. Kaya nga ano ko na lang, i-move ahead ko. Hindi na natin parang titingnan pa yung takdagulan nila. Naghahanap kasi ako highlights yung full highlights pero wala eh. Ayaw pang wala talaga yung full highlights na yung maayos. Wala, so ang gagawin ko na lang is skip ko na lang siya para okay din kahit papaano. Skip na lang natin. Sorry, medyo laglag talaga. Ay, sige, ito na. Sige, ito na, ipa-play ko na.
Could be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will.
Crap. Ayan.
Governor Christie, do you agree with Governor DeSantis just said there? And why would you be better on the economy?
ideas.
than him.
Laid out. I think that if you asked every one of them, we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that we sell these ideas and be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote, not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 2024, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now, I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote, with a Democratic legislature against me the entire time. And we still, through hard, strong decision-making, brought them around to our point of view. We cut taxes in New Jersey. We cut debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going forward. Truth and accountability are the things we need to do to fight way longer and allow the kind of spending that's going on in Washington, because every dollar they spend is a dollar that these people are not allowed to spend on their children.
Boy,
Bread in that.
Ay, sige,
So-
skip ko na lang dun
Are
talaga.
you
Kung may governor Christie.
PS5 one? Yeah, probably. Look at my suitcase.
After spending package after spending package. What we also need to understand is that Joe Biden's Bidenomics has led to the loss of $10,000 of spending power for the average family. When you see 16% inflation, your gas is up 40%, your food is up 20%, your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off in Washington, sending the money back to the states, and allowing the decisions to be made at their own houses. I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. We cut taxes for a single mom like the one that raised me by 70%, for dual households by 60%, returning to the average family $4,000. If you don't send it to Washington, we can't spend it. That's good news for the American people.
Okay, but just to follow up, you did, during the Trump administration, you approved
Okay.
4.4 trillion, 4.1 trillion, 1.7 trillion over the course of that administration. That's a lot of money.
There's no doubt that during the Trump administration, when we were dealing with the COVID virus, we spent more money. But here's what happened at the end of our time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5% for the majority of the population, 70-year low for women. African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians had a all-time low. And we've seen the exact opposite. We've seen inflation explode, which led to 12
what the heck does that?
federal
Maybe it's
reserve increases. It's devastating.
Oh, that's crazy.
That can happen.
That's crazy.
Alright, this is ruining everything. Given the recorded live stream is better it is. Crap.
voted in 2 presidential elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. What the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider, because for a long time, we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who our vision of what it means to be an American.
You turn the people up.
You have a broken car, you don't turn over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, that's that man right there. That's that man right there.
Why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about tonight. Then Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful entrepreneur nationally right now, he's
that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us too.
Wow.
When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing Republicans brought back in, and they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, Mike Pence, they all voted to raise the debt, and Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Alright, so sir, what do you think dun sa ano na yan? Sinabi ni, ano po, ni Haley.
This is where I believe that the Republican Party is really they're just talking about trying to be responsible on the budget, even though, of course, when times get rough, it's hard to really balance the budget because there are times that you really need to expand government spending, especially when there are the government disasters, when there are you know uh, diseases like COVID. So what happened was when things needed to be taken, what the budget needed to be expanded, you cannot really stick with this argument that we should be fiscally responsible, right? Probably she should have given more insights on how to balance the budget, even though there are a lot of appropriations that are needed to be met when it comes to diseases like COVID and other related measures. So this is where the straw man comes in, right? They are promoting themselves as the party of fiscal responsibility, even though there are no exact details on how they would do it, right? Because it's hard. There are a lot of things taken into consideration. And if you don't pass a budget, then the entire federal government would not have money. So um, they should probably uh, indicate what agencies must have a more longer deliberation on uh, their final plan for expenditure before they get deemed submitted. So there's no emphasis on that. So there's no problem. I have no problem with the intent of actually doing it, but how? So this is where the policy needs to be clear, because at the end of the day, there would always be discrepancies on the budget if the government continues to, or they need to spend more, right? I'm emphasizing that because the government cannot just leave it like that. Papaano mo, in Tagalog, papaano mo makokontain ang isang disease kung ang CDC mo, 'di ba, ay hindi sufficiently funded, right? Because that has to
Yes.
be consistent. Hindi pwedeng, okay, ikat natin ang ano para lang mabalance yung budget. There are other aspects of the national government that has to be cut, right? And that has to be stressed, no? Hindi ka pwedeng basta-basta magkakat lang ng isang agency just because you are emphasizing toxic regulations. So yun yung nagiging problema ng Republican Party. They used to be smart on these things, right? They used to be smart on indicating what taxes needs to be cut. They were used to be smart in ano ba ang government uh, expenditures that are bloating the national budget. They don't emphasize it. Parang lahat na lang ng ginagastusan ng gobyerno masama. Hindi na naman natin makokontrol yun sapagkat a lot of people actually want social safety nets provided by the state, especially in the United States. So, yun lang yung nagiging problema dyan, no? So, probably, yung linya kasi ni Nikki Haley rito is that, parang hindi naman dapat sisihin yung Democrats alone. In fact, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, yung pang binibrand nila na big government ang mas responsable kumuha ng pera dahil nga sa they are more effective in actually detailing what has to be spent, no? So yun yung nagiging issue, 'di ba? So probably kulang yung stress out na paano mo babawasan ng debt, no? Kasi ang daming rekotitos diyan. Let's be quite honest with each other. When we talk about debt, it's hard to say that you can just diminish large amounts of it in 2 weeks or in 2 years, no? Especially as with the country as large as the United States. So yun yung kulang. Probably she's trying to say that hindi tayo we're not backing our talks or we're not walking our talk siguro just to make sure she's going to stand out from the debate, no? Pero yun nga, kulang yung details kasi ang hirap pong mag-generalize na ito ang problema, marami tayong utang, we would slash it, we would cut it. So how would you cut that? Would you compromise everything essential to the general public na kailangan natin tapyasan? Or you would indicate what needs to be subtracted from the expenditures? And in fact, they need to have more serious study on this, no? Hindi kasi general topic ang reduction of debt. We have to always remember that, especially for those who are watching. Hindi talaga siya pwedeng ganun. That's the reality of it. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ng 2 taon o sa administrasyon ko mababawasan ang utang. Hindi naman natin alam kung anong mangyayari sa hinaharap. I mean, let's be honest with each other. You can't do that. You can't have a strong foresight on expenditures and spending, right? It's not easy to say, let's take away the government from our lives. That's a bunch of crap. It's a load of bullshit. Anyway, yun na yun.
So the same logic applies to what Senator Scott said. Okay.
Is she talking about the PPP?
50.
No,
she's talking about the national spending.
No, she said the stimulus, the
major
COVID
problem
stimulus
for
check.
that.
So I think part of that
You
was
blamed
that.
the Biden administration spending for that increase. But as vice president, your administration spent more than any prior, $7.8 trillion added to the national debt, $3.5 trillion of that before COVID. So does that mean that you're part of the spending problem?
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond to a reference to our administration's record. I'm incredibly proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We unleashed American energy. And we appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court that gave the American people a new beginning for the right to life.
I don't trust Mike Pence at all.
Now,
they should let Larry Elder come in.
Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared for this job. And I must tell you, with all due respect to all of my friends on the stage, and even to one that's probably looking on, unquestionably, I'm the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative base. I was a leader in the Congress of the United States where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating when I was governor. And as vice president of the United States, we spent funding to backfill on the military cuts of the Obama administration. And then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said a president can't do everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president of the United States has to confront every crisis facing our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility, just as I did in Congress and as governor
Mr. Vice President.
and when I was vice president.
Yeah, I mean, we can respond to that because I was saying to guys, unlock American energy, drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work by no longer paying them more to stay at home. Reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the story. So I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain.
I just want to say na when I heard that he's being ridiculous. It reminds me of someone na kakilala natin actually. I don't even know who's worse. Natatawa talaga
Well,
ako dun eh. Like,
I
right?
actually believe that,
Sige sir, go ahead.
well, analytically speaking, are we live in YouTube now, or are we just live streaming
No.
this?
No, recorded lang to sir.
Okay.
No,
Okay, great.
recorded po to.
Because there might be side comments from GOP supporters. But anyhow, I would say that Ramaswamy is actually trying to project himself as a more millennial version of Donald Trump. This was actually the typical Trump uh, rhetoric we saw from 8 years ago, right? When he was not yet being barged and bombarded with legal cases, right? Because um, he is often citing his outsider credentials. He's often uh, promoting himself that I am not bought and paid for. He is not an establishmentarian. So he's trying to attract the younger conservatives here. Okay, because Mike Pence, in my honest view, is representing the older GOP base, the more hopeful, the more trying to be compassionate kind of conservative, right? So he's trying to create a difference. He's trying to create a ploy for him to be unique in this crowd, right? And I guess it's going to be effective, right? In terms of rhetoric, it's going to be effective. The optics are great. I will not deny him that advantage. But the problem is the policy that he's trying to propose is not going to be lauded by a lot of people, even independent voters. Because now, I guess, with his appeal, he can attract people from the GOP base. He's going to excite the base. But the problem is, if you're going to beat Joe Biden, you do need to reach a crossover appeal. You can't really, you don't have any other choice, right? It's going to be the nature of the game in the general election. And talking about no regulations on energy, not even trying to limit certain aspects of petroleum, right? And also trying to not trying to maintain caps on nuclear energy in the United States is not a winning message for the general public. It's going to be a winning message in the Republican side. There's no doubt about it. But you're not only going to, when you run in 2024, right? It's not the main issue, right? We're going to talk about renewable energy because certain states are already moving away from the traditional uh, sources of energy, right? So probably the better approach is try to think of a state that still relies heavily on coal and then start from there. Dapat siguro ang ginawa nila, we should not leave behind these states because all of them have that as a way of living. It's their way of life, right? So we cannot oftentimes uh, promote federal policies when it comes to environmental regulations, but at least try to consider that environmental regulations are really effective and try to encourage that by respecting the state legislatures of such. No? So, when you try to generalize everything na, okay, hindi pwede yan sa Oregon, sa Washington, sa mga blue states, ano na lang iisipin ng tao na uh, uh, paano kami pagka nagkaroon ng sakuna? Paano kung nagkaroon ng massive na disaster? 'Di ba? Hindi natin ano yan, like for example, a tornado will hit your energy sources, mawawalan ka ng ano, wala kang alternative, wala kang pagkukunan, which in the United States needs to be avoided at all costs because we all know that the United States is the most credible economy there is, right? It's an ongoing hotspot for economic activity despite the economic downturn post COVID, right? So when you connect all these things by promoting laxes in regulations, by promoting traditional sources of energy, and that would lead to an uptick in employment. That's not always true, right? Because some people have transitioned to a more technological, more IT related job, right? So there's no emphasis on that, right? When you put people back to work, you're only putting your base back to work. Yun lang. So yun nga. So yun nga yung nagiging problema nga nila, that they are not, by promoting general ideas, they're not promoting federal system anymore. If you notice, when they talk about the environment, when they're talking about the business regulations, they're not letting the states decide for themselves, right? And pair it up with social issues. They're not actually letting them decide because they think it's not good. So dun may problema. Nagkakaroon rin ng double standard, right? Which is which is ano, which is hard. Because once you promote these things and it's not gonna work for everyone, 'di ba? That will only lead your party to collapse. No one will vote for you except your die-hard core base, which does not represent everyone in your country. 'Di ba? So yun lang yun.
Which is nuts.
Explain it to you, huh? Explain it to you.
Nobody wants to hear you,
I'll
Judas.
go slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the reading comprehension.
I was really push a reduction reduced the national debt of the United States when I was the leader of House. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people.
God, this get hot.
They booing them. They booing them.
It's 30 seconds when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
So here's the thing. Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened. And in Florida, we led the country out of lockdown. We kept our state free. And
You kept your state free, and that's why maraming nadagdag na COVID infections in Florida in 2020.
Ito pa isa.
Governor.
Actually, I
this
guess,
is what we
I
get.
guess.
Wait lang. Sige, ikaw pa. Sige.
I guess Ramaswamy and DeSantis are trying to win over the disaffected Trump supporters from the more establishment candidates. That's really their plan. That's why they're not attacking each other. Might as well. They're not trying to outwit each other because they're trying to play and get the supporters from Trump. Both of them actually. They're like running a race on who would get the appeal of these Trump supporters, who think that maybe if Trump's cases would continue to swell and would continue to be a burden on his campaign, might be forced to withdraw or might uh, shrink his numbers. Because we don't know for sure, right? So we are assuming that the heavy lead of Trump would stagnate in this sense. So yun yung nagiging primary insight nilang dalawa na ano sila na they're trying to imagine na wala na si Trump, makukulong na si Trump, di ba? So, naka-mugshot pa si Trump, naka-Amerikana sa lahat ng ikukulong, yun na naka-Amerikana, no? For the first time in my life, I've seen that thing. So, yun nga.
Same.
So, they're trying to attract these voters because sasabihin nila or in their minds, there's no other way, there's no other choice, no? Kami lang ang maaaring maging torchbearer
Santo.
after ni Trump. No, because they're second and third in this race. They're actually polling higher than
Yep.
the more expected frontrunners like Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, and Tim Scott, right? Because what's happening in the Republican Party happened in the Democratic primaries noong 2019. They're trying to outright wing each other talaga. And like much like noong Democratic primaries, they try to out left wing each other. And that's a problem, namely because nobody in the general public would buy that. No, I mean, I don't know if there are independent voters watching in the audience right now. Diba?
Probably not. Most likely nasa TV.
Diba? Because who would go and watch these fools debate? Right? After all that has happened, right? I just feel that if there is a lesser evil in these debates, probably I would need to still assess it because there's an upside optically amongst the right wing base, right? There's an upside in all of them actually, no?
Yep.
So ang problema, ano yung magiging laban ng Democrats sa kanila? Kasi dapat pinag-uusapan na nila yan. Kasi yung mga pinagsasasabi nila dito, gagamitin ng Democrats, papalabas sa TV, tapos na ang araw nila. Say goodbye to everything you have funded for and lose a probably winnable race. You know, since of course many
Yeah.
voters are actually are scared and actually are worried for the president to actually run again, namely because he would be 83 if he steps down by 2028. I mean, sorry, 2029 nga if he wins a second term. That would be very, very dangerous. And mas lalo nila kagagalitan yung papalit dahil sa black na, Indian pa. So, may appeal yun. Kaya pala marami ring there's probably Vivek is trying to run that thing. Kaya niya
Yeah,
ginagaya
he
si
is.
Obama eh. So, kasi ito namang
I still see him as I still see him as the Republican Andrew Yang, just like I said before when I learned that he was going to be a
he
presidential
probably
candidate.
is.
But he's worse. He's worse, and he's more cultural warrior than Andrew Yang.
But
He's
Andrew Yang
basically
never
the
even.
full opposite.
Yeah, he is it's like well, I don't want to play a racial joke because I don't want to be prejudicial to who would ever watch this video. But again, uh, this is how Indian Americans and Chinese Americans play their businesses. Chinese Americans would be more skillful in mathematics, while Indian Americans would be good in exaggerating things and stretching the truth. right? I don't want to go further than that because, of course, most of who will view this would be more susceptible to, you know, a little bit liberal on things. So I'm not going to joke on it. But again, uh, racial things aside, no? Sorry for that. Racial things aside, no? Vivek is trying to cater something he has difference, yung kanyang mga diferensya sa general candidates, no? Just to make sure that he stands out, no? Optically, probably that's not going to matter, right? It's not gonna matter because he's already spouting out what the GOP base likes. DeSantis, on the other hand, no, since we're talking about candidates, is not going to do that. He's trying to straddle the line between brilliant administrator and a warrior for the conservative movement. Something hard to do
Yep.
because when you are a governor of a state, you don't govern your side only. Ano yung nagawa mo
Yeah.
bipartisan wise? Ano yung iyong na-promote na hindi nagalit ang mga minorities sa Florida? Kasi I'm not really convinced na lahat ng tao gustong-gusto siya sa Florida. And I'm going to reiterate what I've said weeks ago regarding the status of Florida as a safe red state. He only rode Trump's coattails noong election ng 2020. Right? And I've said that when we were together, right? Yun lang din yun.
Yep.
Dumami lang yung voters ni DeSantis kasi siya yung governor ng state ng pinakamamahal nilang presidente. Diba? It all makes sense now.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, he just rode in the Trump wave of 2018.
Okay. Had Biden won that state, 2020, which was of course a possibility, he would have not won that very easily. I really, really believe that. Right? Especially kung nag-turn out yung mga Democratic bases sa Southern Florida. Right? Because effective nga yung ginawa ni Trump. You scaremonger the people there that if Biden wins, communism will wreak havoc in their country, even though they don't probably know what communism is. Right? So yun yung aking sapantaha dyan na they're trying to win over the Trump supporters. Right? They're trying to win over these people kasi nga baka nga hindi nga makatakbo yung pinakamamahal nila, no? Kasi marami ng kaso hindi na makakapagkampanya yan. At kung mangampanya man siya from prison, that would be the weirdest shit I would see in my entire lifetime so far. Diba?
Kasi dito sa Pinas, hindi na bago yun eh.
Ay, hindi na. Nanalo pa nga senador yung isa. Anyway, I'm not going to delve into that since we're into US politics, not Philippine politics. Malaki po ang diferensya.
Yep.
No? Siyempre,
So anyway,
ang
balik
weird
lang ako dun
naman
saglit sa Florida.
sa
Kasi,
Amerika. Sige.
yeah. Anyway, ito lang kasi po yun eh. Like, gusto kong balikan yung hypocrisy nga about sa lockdown. Like, na-force din naman siya mag-lockdown nung first 2 months of the 2020 because yun nga, malala ang spread ng COVID. And you wanted freedom, fine. Okay, like, nakuha yun ng lahat ng Floridians under his governorship. And look what happened. Like, sana ba yung statistics dito saglit? As of now, 7 million Floridians ang nadali ng COVID as of August 3 this year. Malala pa din ang COVID-19 anti-spread measures ng governor because yun nga, freedom na kailangan na ituloy ng mga tao yung buhay nila without the lockdown. Pero like you said nga po sir, hindi na gradual na wala naging gradual process yung Trump administration on how to plan the lockdowns. because he just left it to the states.
Exactly. So I guess no, they were the ones who
And then
politicized the COVID.
pinagmamalaki niya na ano,
Ayun nga,
wait
oo.
lang, and then
So
pinagmamalaki niya na free yung Florida at the expense of their constituents' lives. Okay.
So yun nga. So yun yung problema. When you politicize an event that can kill anyone, 'di ba? Ang unang tawag diyan, ang unang dapat na iniisip diyan, how would you help people? That's the spirit of public service. No, and I think that's the negativity of partisanship on both sides eh. Hindi na naaasikaso yung serbisyo publiko na kaya sila nandyan para magsilbi. Politics should be done later, you know? So, I'm just going to double down on what you said na, kung ganun pala, bakit ang daming namatay at the expense of keeping your economy? I mean, this is the failure of Republicans in saying that there won't be an economy without humans, without human beings that are working their lives 8 hours a day, right? Now,
Yeah.
of course, may sinasabi si Von na he's actually planning to compromise na tataasan daw yung minimum wage na Florida, right? So, ang problema, pagka sinabi mo yon sa mga buong bansa, di lalo siyang tinira kasi bawal yon. Hindi nga maka-right wing yung ganun pag nagtaas ka ng sahod, di ba? Something that is so ironic because that's actually a showcase of compassion. No? Although, of course, he should have said that. No?
Ang problema nga lang is, like
he
I
should be
said,
saying that, alin.
ang problema lang po kasi is matagal pa nga lang yung implementation.
Matagal pa
Like
implementation.
3 years pa.
Kasi, 3 years pa. So, he should be, well, I don't know, he should be saying that because you do need crossover voters talaga. In a state like Florida as well. Hindi naman siya pwedeng pakasiguro na dahil nanalo siya statewide, mananalo na siya nationwide sa state. 'Di ba? I mean, that happens a lot in presidential politics. Just because you're a governor of a state does not mean you would win it when you go higher or when you run for a higher position. Siguro, pagka talagang nag-invest ka sa state mo, like Bill Clinton, like Jimmy Carter, or anybody else that came from state level offices, maaari. But I don't think Florida's that easy to invest on because Florida in itself is larger and is more progressive than the two states I have mentioned. No? Especially nung araw. No? Ngayon, mas, I don't know. No? I cannot be sure since we don't have data. So, yun. So, yun nga yung ironic dyan eh, that they're trying to politicize a disease. Right? Kahit sarili nilang pamilya, magka-COVID. Diba? So, yun yung nagiging problem. They should be more careful on what or how the COVID-19 lockdowns were wrong in certain ways. But not to the full extent na generally, pag nag-lockdown ka, masama na yung ginawa. Eh di lalong namatay yung mga tao, walang bibili sa mga produkto ng mga kumpanyang pinapaboran nila. I mean, that's, di ba? I mean, if walang bibili sa'yo,
I think we can apply the same thing dito sa Pilipinas eh. Lalo na nung malala din ang COVID situation dito kasi I know a certain person, well, hindi ko na siya papangalanan, na yun nga, parang he was really pissed off with the mandates. Pero anong magagawa natin, di ba? Nung time na yun.
Totoo yan. Totoo yun. At saka, by the way, aren't we all we are all actually encouraged to be innovative? I mean, as teachers, hindi naman sanay lahat ng guro na magturo online, but we needed to be innovative. So, yun din nasagot ko doon sa mga sinasabi mo. Na, okay, kung hindi kayo sanay at hindi kayo di nyo feel yung nasa bahay lang kayo, you have to be innovative. Diba? At least try to respect yung mga kapwa. Kasi pagka nagkamatayan na, tapos nagkasakit kayo, o wala na kayong magagawa. 'Di ba? Mamamatay na lang kayong ganon. Tapos sasabihin pa nung iba na nasa sa tao daw yun. Actually, hindi rin nag-i-spread nga pag crowds. Hindi pwedeng kanya-kanya lang ang pagaling. Di lalong mas namamatay yung mga nangangailangan. 'Di ba? Siyempre, pagka ikaw ay may pera, ay madaling
Hindi na
magpagpapal.
mawalan COVID.
Oo. Kahit na mayaman, nagkaka-COVID, mas maingat pa 'di ba? I just needed to say that because it's very ridiculous to blame regulations, 'di ba? Na bakit nag-stagnate yung economy. It's the gradual unchecking of the virus itself. Kahit dito sa atin, 'di ba? Kahit sa Amerika, 'di ba? Lagi natin sinasabi 'yon. Kung naganda man sila, hindi siguro nag-lockdown ng mahaba. Wala pinagkibit-balikat ng mga leaders basically dahil sa tinuring nila na magiging parang lang yan, yung mga nakaraang epidemics. Hindi nangyari. Remember, we're dealing with this disease.
Then states' rights.
Oo, yun nga I'm not going to debate on states' rights anymore because dapat nga mas malapit sa puso mo yung mga ganon dahil sa state mo nangyari. Diba? Hindi mo naiisipin yung Republican, Democrat ka. Wala naman na yun I mean, honestly, I'm just speaking, I think, what majority of Americans would say. That, when you die, there's no more party affiliation. No more.
Yep.
You either, dilibing ka, walang pakialam yung kung saan ka mapupunta, wala silang pakialam kung paano ka bumoto. But anyway, some people don't get the picture. So,
right. Let's continue to this.
Deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci and you sit him down and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
To be fair, wala na si Dr. Fauci. He retired already.
Shut down. Not shut down.
They had polio.
They had polio.
I tried to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now.
See, that line, yung ganun linyahan niya, he got it from Yang. He obviously got it from him.
Yeah.
He's in a way parang trying to follow his playbook while at the same time sticking with the Don.
Of course. This is how smart
God damn it.
and this is how I'm scared about outsiders running for public office. Because they're so appealing and then wala namang mangyayari sa 4 na taon. No? Siguro kung meron man mangyari, hindi ganun
kaunti lang.
Parang masyado status quo that everything is gonna work, ganyan. Everybody will be rich. Everybody will be living their lives to the fullest. Parang lang yan parang lang dito sa Pilipinas yan na they will just say if you work hard you will get successful. That's the travesty of it, no? Siyempre makukuha yung loob mo pero statistically wala naman nangyayari sa iyo. Para ka sumali ng game show. Binigyan ka 100,000 tapos sasabihin lang sa iyo, sige, live your life to the fullest, no? Gastusin mo lahat 'yan. Di wala ka na naman pera. Ganun lang din sa Amerika. No? I mean, that's what they do. 'Di ba? That's the limits of capitalism, right? Para lang din yan yung pagka nagsalita yung mga left wing na pagka tayo'y nagkaganito, magkakapantay-pantay lahat. Even though sa isip lang natin yun, pero meron talagang magkakaroon ng hierarchical differences. Ganon din sa kapitalista, kamo. Everything will be fine if you have money, even though of course luluha ka pagka wala ka na naman pera, mapipilita ka mangutang, di ba? Mapipilita ka magtrabaho kahit na meron kang gusto na trabaho, di mo makuha kasi dadaanin ka sa false meritocracy, no? Meron mo to meritocracy, pero pag sa kanila, sa upper class, wala na yon, no? Kahit nagtanga ka, kahit naengot ka, makakaposisyon ka, no?
Gago.
Mm-hmm. Totoo yun, kahit na ikaw ay imbecile, baka maging Secretary of Foreign Affairs ka pa. Anyway. So, ganun yun. There's always a trick that people will, or candidates would use, no? Diba? Totoo yun. Kahit na isang na-disbar na attorney, pwedeng maging cabinet secretary. Hindi ba? No? Despite all of the controversies, no? O ganun din sa Amerika, sana naman hindi mangyari yun doon dahil America's America, no? You can't just let people with no diverse knowledge on certain things become president, which they actually did that 8 years ago, and they're willing to do it again, no? So, anyway. So, yun lang yung masasabi ko dyan na parang merong sila way of words.
One of yours? Not really. National politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs last week. The real choice we face in the patriot who speaks on incremental reform, which is what you're hearing about, or do you want revolution?
Okay.
And I stand on the side of the American Revolution.
We're going to take it.
Jesus. You're inviting a revolution? How?
Yan, right wing. Pag right wing nagsabi, ang ganda-ganda ng no? Ang ganda-ganda, nagtitigasan yung mga titi nila. Pagka left na nagsabi niyan, masama na. Parang dadating na yung Antikristo. Parang dadating na si 66
for me, it kind of
yung nagsabi.
Sabagay.
Nakita mo ang hipokrito nilang lahat, di ba?
Yeah.
Ulo. Anyway, I don't care. If somebody would hear me, I don't care. Kasi totoo yun. No? Totoo naman yun. Ano ba revolusyon? Magre-revolusyon yung mga high-up corporate businessmen? How would they revolve? How would they revolve on a system that, benefits them? That's moronic.
It's them.
Anyway.
Siguro, he's probably talking about those corporations na not socially justice woke. Damn it.
You ain't been in them trenches, man.
They were all wishing me well, and I think I took them a little too literally when they said go to Milwaukee and break a leg. So,
Patient baby, run down.
I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the Biden economy because the economy, energy, and national security are all tied together. Of course, we're paying too much for our energy in our state in our country right now. But part of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now, the $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending buried in the Inflation Creation Act is something that is subsidizing China. If we're going to stop buying oil from the Middle East and start buying batteries from China, we're just trading OPEC for Sinopec. And then belatedly...
Oh, I remember this kagabi. Kasi dun sa natin, sa GC. Sabi ko kasi sinabi kasi ni Apale sa akin na US should still continue to buy on Saudis na oil na lang daw. Parang wag na daw mag-frack ang US. Sabi ko sa kanya, that would defeat the purpose of not funding the Saudis in the first place. And may decision na rin ang Saudi to join the BRICS to de-dollarize. So, yung point niyang yun about using US dollars to buy oil, especially in Saudi, I see it as yun, useless na useless na plan. I kind of find it illogical, but I mean I can be wrong, okay? So ayun.
Biden administration says, no, we're going to put sanctions on Russian
mamaya
oil.
na.
Well, we put sanctions on Russian oil. Well, then it's 20% off. Who's buying it? China. So if you buy
Sige, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead pa.
Yeah, I think based on what I see or what I'm hearing, both of it actually, I think the governors have more strength on policy explanation rather than the mainstream candidates. Number one, because it's, I mean, North Dakota is one of the more renowned oil producing states in their country, right? That has been the lifeblood of their economy. So I think he makes sense on certain aspects. Na maybe uh, there should still be more strength on states or give more leeway to oil producing states, especially if you are trying to mitigate foreign products being imported, namely oil. Remember, because of the Ukraine invasion, nag-ban si US ng imports from Russia, no? And syempre bibilin yun ng China. So what you need to do is to reignite certain aspects of domestic oil production that can be compromised with environmental safety standards, no? Of course, I sound kind of odd to say it, pero ang problema is that tama 'yon. Hindi ka pwedeng maging hindi ka pwedeng reliant sa oil kung ikaw ay nagmamatigas over countries that are belligerent but at the same time are producers of a very a very elusive commodity like oil. So I think that's the point that I think Governor Burgum is trying to make. No, although of course, uh, speaking as a I'm imagining I am campaigning for him. There's just no chance that you're going to win, namely if you don't build up on your name recall. Ang hirap kasing mag-build up ng name recall lalo na sa mga governors ng state. They're only known within their state. They're not known outside. So, yung kasing ginawa kay De Santas, no? De Santa Tata, no? Syempre, may media siya. 'Di ba? May media mileage kasi maraming market sa Florida sa media. The media market in Florida is large, right? So, naka-cover siya. Yung North Dakota, wala namang tao diyan. No, halos. It's one of the smallest populated states in their country. Same goes with Arkansas, right? It's not that populous. So it's hard to build up your campaign. Although I would want to see him go further because if you focus on policy and not on the woke shit, not on things that we all know are unfactual.
May isa pa may isa pang problema. Not kissing the former president's ass all the time just to get the primary voters, which is the biggest problem right now. Second, well, at least for me, second na lang yung woke gender, kung anong shit ideology na pinaglalaban na kinakaingitan ng mga Filipino social conservatives na we should push back on it.
Oo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I
You can
can't
go
help it.
push back. No. You know why?
Yeah, I know.
There are a lot of Filipinos that think na pare-parehas pala talaga tayo ng the outrages has to be different because Americans are not Filipinos, Filipinos are not Americans, vice versa. Okay? What we do have is a strong relationship when it comes to foreign affairs, and that is something we cannot change, right? No, we cannot just demonize a partner in diplomacy, right? We can't do that. And yun yung hindi
We can never
naiintindihan. Okay, hindi maiintindihan ng mga alam mo na kung sino yung mga yon, no? So, nagigipitan sila eh, kaya nagkakampiyan sila
Yeah.
minsan. No?
Well, like
Wala,
I said, the left hates it. The Filipino left hates it because of their military presence.
Mhm.
The Filipino rights
Mhm.
hates it when they
Oo.
about
Paano
the
yan?
about the,
Oo.
they're happy at the repeal of Roe.
Oo. Diba nakita mo yon? Ibig sabihin, ibig sabihin nun, no? Ibig po sabihin nun, hindi talaga kasi magkaparehas ang ating mga interes sa buhay-buhay, no? Territorial disputes, yung navigational rights natin, yun nagkukumpulan sa atin para magkampi sa kanila, no? Because they also use it, right? 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Yun lang.
Alangan namang
I guess so. Dun lang talaga merong common interest. But in terms of domestic policy, napaka-layo, no? We don't have gun
pero to
shooting in the Philippines like racially motivated. Wala po tayong issue sa kung meron man, no? Pwede naman ma-mitigate 'yon dahil nga I
pero
guess
to be fair po kasi, like, ang problema nga rin kasi is ginagaya nga ng mga social progressives dito sa Pinas yung pinaglalaban ng American social progressives eh. I mean, well, not really a problem, but the way they message it, it's a problem.
Yeah. Pero problem din yung ginagawa ng kabila. So pare-pareha silang problema. Kumbaga, kung pwede lang natin silang pawalain, no? Na-imagine mo na yun, wala nang ganon. 'Di ba? Ang ganda-ganda siguro ng buhay natin, mga walang maiingay, mga walang madaldal, mga walang bobo,
Lahat
'di ba? Sorry for saying that.
may compromise.
Oo. But
Well,
I'm not
common
going to
sense,
be
hindi pandering.
Oo, hindi yung nagpapander ka para lang makuha mo yung gusto mo. Para kang daig mo pa yung mga kurakot sa Malacanang, no? Anyway.
Alright, let's continue this bullshit, right?
Country like to buy diesel at 20% off, just like they're buying it.
I told you, if you buying the battery, they made it with fossil fuel. So,
Glad to be here tonight. And let me just tell you that I'm from a which I lowered taxes in Arkansas as governor.
it makes sense.
I created a $2 billion surplus that I passed over to my successor, and I made sure that we shrunk the size of government. We have 14% fewer state employees in Arkansas after I left government than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in Washington, D.C. We need somebody who can actually constrain the growth of the federal government, that can actually federal non-defense workforce. That's a specific pledge to make that attacks the administrative state. And let me applaud some of the business partners that are here that have had success in business, served our country in terms of being head of the DEA, in Homeland Security, in times of crisis. And while I think that that's experience that is important for the future of our country, to be the president of the United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable. Thank you.
You want to
Naalala ko agad yung sinabi niyo, sir, about dun sa sa budget cuts. Cutting the budget of the departments that are not defense related. Like, come on, dude.
I guess
that would make the people in your
fairness, in fairness, ito lang. Yung general statement kasi maganda. No? Pero yung details niyan, ano ba yung mga tinanggal? Is it talaga bang hindi necessary? Or yun ay mga kailangan pero for the sake of cutting, cannot. So, dapat kasi may details eh. Kasi kung hindi mo dinetail yung nangyari na I cut the size of government, no? And then you praise people from the government, then you can't talk two sides of your mouth. You have to be specific. Ano ba yung mga, sino ba yung mga yon? Yung bang mga tauhan na yon ay kurakot or may ginawang mismanagement? So kung ganun pala, tama, natanggalin. Tamang i-shrink mo. 'Di ba? Tanggalin mo yung mga unwarranted plantillas. But the problem is, hindi mo naman ine-emphasize kung bakit tinanggal o kung saang agency sila tinanggal, 'di ba? Kasi may mga agencies na mayroong purpose at may agencies na or yung overheads lang naman ang problema pagka ganyan eh. Like I understand that there is a need for preserving meritocracy in the bureaucracy, no? But
Yeah,
again,
agree.
if the agencies set there are going to help you efficiently serve your constituents, then the problem is not the agency, it's the overheads. Kasi ang dami mong ina-appoint. O pwede mo na matanggalin yung mga nagpapasikat lang eh. Yung mga pumupunta lang sa opisina para umihi siguro at maligo, 'di ba? O mag-makeup, 'di ba? Yun yung
O
problema.
nag-aabang ng sweldo.
Oo, yung mga gano'n o kaya yung mga taga-buhat lang ng
Bangko.
ano, 'di ba? Taga-buhat lang, taga-ano lang, taga-linis lang, 'di ba? I mean, those are the overheads. Even yung sa taga-linis, may maintenance dapat 'yon. So, yun nga yung dapat nilang i-emphasize kasi people, if they believe that the American people are smart, then the people that they're trying to win over will also ask that. Hindi naman hindi naman sila ganun katanga para mapanderan, no? Na ganyan ganyan ganito ganito. 'Di ba? Kasi kung ganun ko ako 'yan, matagal ko na sinapak sa mukha 'yun kasi ginagago mo eh. 'Di ba? Anyway.
Alright, sige.
More than 1,000 PS U.S. wildfire in more than a century. Hawaii's governor and White
Ito
House
na.
officials said that climate change amplified the cost of human error.
And a tropical storm hit California for the first time in 84 years. The ocean hit 101 degrees off the coast of Florida. And in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest broke records nearly 50 years old.
So Alexander Diaz from Young
Recently, Shell's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start on this with
Real
a
talk
show
siya
of hands. Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start.
All right, there it is.
So do you want to raise your hand or not?
Y'all believe?
I don't think that's the way to do it. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all, one of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said no comment. Are you kidding me? As somebody that's
I don't
handled
even know
disasters in
where he
Florida,
got
you got
that.
to be activated. You've got to be kidding
Wait.
me. As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be active.
Well, look, like I said, paano yung naging COVID response mo?
Yun lang. Diba?
Yung mga Filipino fans ni Governor DeSantis would say na, oh, buti pa sa Florida, it's so free.
Sus, pag lumubog na yung Florida, wala kayong pupuntahan, mamatay kayo dyan. Anyway, I don't care anymore, right? Eh, yung ang supporter ni Tatay Diggs, sabi niya mamatay na daw lahat ng lumalaban kay Duterte. Di, mamatay na tayo. Di ba? Maganda yun. Mamayapa na tayo. Oo. Di ba? Sinasabi ko lang yun kasi pag tayo yung nagsasabi, masama na naman tayo.
Oo.
Para tayong singaw galing impyerno, hindi naman totoo yun.
Kung masama tayo, asan yung ATL case? No, I mean, asan yung pag-file sa atin ng ATL? Wala.
Ayun. Mamatay na daw pala. Sige.
like, siya yung pinaka-asshole so far, at least in my view, sa naging debate
Matagal
na to
na. Matagal na.
yesterday.
Anong
Well,
so far
being
this debate?
nag-amplify. Hindi, nag-amplify lang yung pagiging asshole niya talaga. Kasi nung una kasi hindi naman halata eh. Kasi syempre, ano lang siya for me, parang nobody of a governor lang siya nung una. Pero as time goes on, nakilala natin si Governor DeSantis. So, ayun. Anyway.
Activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You got.
Is that a yes? Is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No,
because
no,
the
I didn't
climate change agenda
raise
is a
a
hoax.
hand.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
It was fucking good.
Not bought and paid for. Ayan na. Ayan na, mga ka-meta. Ay, mga ka-YouTube pala. Hindi pala meta to.
Well, actually,
Ayan na.
may corporate pack si Vivek na advising him to tell this shit also. Like, katulad ng kay Governor DeSantis. So,
Ayan na.
so wala.
Alam nyo,
Thrown out
ito
the
lang
window
po, no? Ito lang po masasabi ko kung sino man po yung manonood. Lahat po ng kandidato kailangan ng pera para tumakbo. Wala pong tarantado na tatakbo na walang pera. Kahit ano pa yan. Kahit na businessman pa yan. Hindi naman lahat ng businessman, ilalagak lahat ng pera nila para kumandidato sila. Dinalugi yan. Hindi sila tanga. No? Ano masyado kasi bakagas.
They're not.
Para tayong tanga. Ginagawa kayong tanga kung sino man yung boboto dyan. Huwag kayong magpakatanga. Kung gusto nyo, bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. Anyway. Yun yung problema Di ba? Kasi yung ganyan I'm not bought and paid
and another thing about him,
right?
Let's see. Tingnan natin sa Federal Election Commission na filing of the funds.
You can't
Doon natin
sustain
makikita yung
even Donald Trump had to fund himself. I mean, not really fund himself, but also engage in super PACs. No? Ang problema nga lang sa kanya, nag-pour in siya na sobrang daming pera, hindi niya binayaran yung iba. Ay, nako.
Tapos yung iba gagamitin niya for his legal case.
Oo. Yan yung false outsider Walang niya. Insider pa rin naman yan. Leader ka ng korporasyon. Siyempre, makikiisa ka sa gobyerno dahil nagbabayad ka ng buwis.
Mukha ka lang outsider kasi ang galing mo pabaguhin yung sarili.
Ayun na nga. Yun nga kaya rin dito sa Pilipinas, ganyan, ang dami-daming inahalal. Mga land grabber din pala. No? Mga may sa contract sa mining. Diba? Ginagago nga sila. Kaya wag po tayo magpagago kasi at tagal-tagal na nating alam yan na hindi po porket businessman or any other hedge fund manager is already outsider just because they're not serving in government. Malay ba natin nakikipag-partner up sila sa ibang nasa loob ng pamahalaan? Diba? Kasi pagdating sa ganyan, gustong-gusto nila, binabribe yung mga nasa gobyerno din naman. No?
Oo.
Ay, dun uli lalabas yung sinasabi ko, pag gipita na, ayan na. No? Basta pera yung usapan.
Kaya nga, I also agree to what Mehdi said before na Trump really, capitulated yung anger ng anti-establishment voters. That's why,
Despite being
a rich asshole.
Oo. Kasi parang ang philosophy
the irony.
No, I don't really blame the voters and I'm not going to blame the voters. I'm actually warning them. Na ganun nga po yun. Na we are always being enticed by their rhetoric. but they end up doing the exact same thing. They become part of the establishment as well. How would you
Yeah.
become part of a revolution if you are not, if you're going to maintain certain things in place, nothing, no reform, no,
Pero yeah,
diba?
about Vivek, I had this thought na if Trump ever gets convicted to either the RICO law or the violation of the RICO law or the January 6th insurrection or the classified documents, I think Vivek would take over. Most Trump
Yes,
supporters will go to him. Like Trump will be disqualified if he ever gets convicted.
yes. Well, I don't know if he will be allowed to campaign from prison, but that's besides the point. I think Ramaswamy has already strong um, networks in Iowa. He has strong networks in New Hampshire, and the only thing that he doesn't have strength is, of course, South Carolina due to Tim Scott and Nikki Haley running, right? So there's a strong
Nikki
chance
Haley.
that he would be
Yep.
leading the race. And this would mean one thing, that um, the corporate merger, or the gravitation towards the GOP towards corporate titans or corporate people would be inevitable, leading it to lose its identity. Yung cultural identity ng Republicans mawawala na. Para economic na talaga yung kanilang magiging standpoint. Siyempre, magiging ano pa rin yung woke corporation kasi etong nakikita nating ito, no, he wrote a book about woke Inc., right? So, they're going to smartly tie up
Yep.
economic and cultural issues together as if they are totally identical or totally the same, 'di ba? So, yun yung ano, yun yung masama diyan.
I think it only intertwine. It only intertwines, but it's not the same thing.
Mm. Ayun na nga.
The
Yun, eh,
cultural and the
yun nga yung problema. Kasi uh, uh, you can make the case na parehas silang intertwining, no ba? But not to the point na A leads to B na agad, or the chicken leads to laying the egg of bad things, 'di ba? The omen of bad things. So yun lang yung problema na nakikita natin, dahil sa yung ginagawa niya is completely pandering to the conservative base, to the point na hindi na niya lang kiniliti, talagang hinimod pa niya, no, yung ticklish pie ng mga conservatives, no? And this is not to deride, or
I
this
don't
is not
even
to,
know how he did.
nagrarap pa nga to eh, actually. So I can see the strength of his candidacy, no? And I'm fair. If I see a strong candidate, I will say that he is a strong candidate. But is he effective? No. Is he going to be an effective president? That's a step too far, 'di ba?
That's
Because
matagal pa. And I'm
maraming
still
magagalit.
baffled.
Hmm,
Hindi, sige, kayo po muna.
baffled. Hindi, ano nga yun? Baffled by.
I'm still baffled na he just announced his presidential candidacy way back in January ata, if I recall, or February.
Hmm.
And then he has this gain traction kaagad within few months, just like Trump did. And then si Andrew, okay, syempre may pagka-bitter ako, which is Andrew Yang like filed for the presidential candidacy for the Democratic nomination back in 2018 or 2017 rather. Yeah, and it took him 2 years to have that peak of hype, uh, the campaign, di ba yung ganun, the campaign apparatus, the support base, like it was a 2 year gradual process, and it kind of pisses me off na Andrew, who is more, in my view only, is more compassionate to the American people than Vivek will do. Like, he has more traction. Like, oh my goodness.
Kasi nga,
that's just
sa Republican Party.
it's a grievance.
The Republican Party loves self-made men or quote-unquote self-made men. Right? So, ganun talaga. Unlike in the Democratic Party, ang ironic naman sa kanila, they love establishment candidates, no? Despite the fact na they are the supposed populist party, no? So, yun lang yung nakaka diyan. It's still to be answered. No? We don't have an absolute answer for why these things happen differently.
Yep.
Like both of them came from the business sector, but we cannot answer totally why the other one lacked name recall, no traction at all until siguro middle of the primaries, and then the other one actually gained ground significantly. And I guess it's because of the messaging, 'di ba? Nagkaroon ng problema sa messaging si Yang, pero hindi na masyadong naaral ni Ramaswamy yung ano ng GOP kaya siya nag-gain traction. And I guess sumabay din yung pagbaba ni Ron DeSantis sa polls. Si Ron De Tita. Ron,
Surround the fascists.
oo.
Sabagay. And I had this other thing. I thought na if Trump gets convicted and he doesn't gonna be allowed to run for president, so the top two, of course, is Ramaswamy and then Governor DeSantis. And I do think that if Governor DeSantis continues to have this less charisma in the campaign, Ramaswamy would take over as first place. And that kind of scares
Yes.
me. Obviously.
I'm not scared of anything he'll lose. Probably. He's gonna lose it. Like, yun nga yung sinasabi ko eh. When you say that in a general voter, nangyari, nag-debate na sila ni Senile Biden. O para fair, kailangan ko sabihin yan. Kasi baka sabihin nila, anti-right. O sige, nagdebate sila ni Senile Biden. O diba? Tapos sasabihin mo yan. Eh di, lalabas yung ni Senile Biden, yung pagiging niya, reckless niya na this fella over here doesn't ko na nababasa ko na yung mangyayari. Di, lumagapak na yung campaign niya. Di ba? Sasabihin mo ba sa Midwest yan? Na crucial sa isang presidential election? Climate change sa hoax, boohoo. Yon. Tapos, he claims to be di ba, educated person. Paano yon kung nakinig na educated voters yan, lalo na sa GOP, di baksak na siya. Yeah, I'm just saying the realities on the ground. You can only say that in the primary, you have to pivot once you're in the general. Or be consistent na. Wala kasing nagiging consistent sa mga debate. Parang pandering pa eh. Malang masama mag-pander. Okay, kung authentic. Pero kung hindi authentic yun, na parang I agree with everything you've said.
Kung nakikisakay ka lang.
Oo, karapat dapat na sampalin, 10 beses pa. Oo, yung talaga sampal na parang sampal na kontrabida. Hindi, totoo. Asama kasi nun eh. Parang ang pander. Tapos,
ginagago mo yung tao eh.
Oo. Hindi ka na lang magpakatotoo, sabihin mo, hindi talaga yan. Hindi talaga hoax yung climate change. Pero ganito yan. Hindi kasi pwede yung gano'n. Di ba? Pander ka ng pander, di walang bumoto sa'yo. Hindi uusad yung gusto mong mangyari talaga. No? Totoo po yan, kahit sino makinig sa akin. Di ba? Para lang kayo nililigawan. Sige, sasabihin nung nanliligaw sa inyo, papadala ko sa iyo lahat ng masasarap na tsokolate. Hindi naman totoo, wala ka naman pera eh. Di ba?
Unless you have the money to be back.
Yeah. And hindi ka naman pwedeng makabili lagi ng brand ng tsokolate yung gusto nung nililigawan mo dahil baka walang stock. O di sabihin mo na lang yung totoo. Oh my God. Kakainis yung mga panders.
Alright, let's continue this.
Carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is more people are dying of climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
People are actually dying from COVID.
Listen. Wait, hold on.
Ito na.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
Chat GPT. Dinarag din niya talaga si ano.
Oo. Sadly, Chris Christie
Ano ba
did
yan?
that. Hindi, sadly nga, nagawa rin naman ni Christie kay Rubio yan noong 2016 pero talo din naman si
Yeah,
Christie.
the 25 second.
Yeah, good for soundbite, but come on. Are you really going
It's
to
not-
win now? I mean, I'm
Never.
just being
He's
honest.
not- He's not gonna win.
I would want him, but he's not gonna win. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sad to say it. Like, if this was
no Republican would vote for him.
if this was 1996, baka manalo pa. Eh hindi na eh. Yung mga Gen Z ngayon, right-winger na yan, nagdadala na ng baril sa paaralan nila yan.
Oh.
Talaga nagpakinig
Oh
na.
yeah, totoo naman.
Pa-hipster zoomer, mga right-wing, mga nagpapatato, di ba? Kulang na lang sumama pa sa KKK yon. Ayan. Magandang pakinggan yan, pero you'll just be reminded of para yung kay Marco Rubio noong 2016. Ginawa niya kay Rubio na nagpatalo din naman kay Rubio. So, I don't think that would affect people now given the polarized climate. So, anyway. Pero maganda yung ChatGPT.
Benta nga talaga yan.
Yan, yung mga...
Ano yan? Hindi, sige. Yan yung mga...
yan yung mga ng meritocracy. Okay. Tapos gumagamit ng ChatGPT para magka-degree. Klase talaga. Tapos yung ibang nagsisikap, baksak. No? Galing ng meritocracy talaga. Ang galing talaga, lalo na pagka meron kang pera talaga. Ang galing. Oo. Napakagaling. Gusto kong pumalakpak. Yung palakpak talaga na parang parang pinaghirapan niya, ginawa lang pala sa ChatGPT. Tapos sasabihin nila you have to look at what happened to me. I worked hard and then use ChatGPT. Diba? Maganda. Tuloy natin.
Alright, sige.
Like me, just like Obama too. Give me that
Type of adventure.
Hold on. Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you bought and paid
What I
for?
would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Oh, shit.
Air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions. That's where our problem is. And green subsidies, and all he's done is help China. Because I understand all these electric vehicles that he's done, what that does, half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not helping the environment. You're putting money in China's pocket, and Biden did that. So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not.
I want to argue about this.
Hold on.
Ano sa'yo? May sabihin.
Yeah. I think being
Wala.
the only para kasi pag ikaw lang yung babae sa stage, it happened a lot of times, diba, kay Hillary, kay but I'm reminded of her with that response. but she did it differently kasi parang yung kasing sa kanya, laging nakakarap niya isang lalaki lang. Given that the Republican Party is male-dominated, it's easier to win people over with that kind of response. So maganda yung attack actually. No, I honestly think so. Kasi ang hirap kasi bihira lang yung babaeng conservative sa race, no? So, and she does make points about yung carbon emissions. Laging Amerika yung napo-point out. Eh, hindi lang naman sila yung industrialized country na nag-emit ng maraming carbons. Including China.
Oo.
China's the most. That's true. I have to give her that. That's really true na mas madaming lumalabas sa China talaga na
Oo.
na waste because of their industrial Ganun din ang India. Remember, yung dalawang bansa na yan are the most populous countries in the world and they have to do something about it. Like yung ironic nga na yung mga gumagamit ng medyo safe energy ay konti ang population. For example, Japan, New Zealand, 'di ba? Even the Netherlands is going for a more energy efficient environmentally friendly na energy source. So
Yeah,
that's
and
a good
Red would
thing.
probably agree with that.
Yeah, that foreign policy thing is good because America is still the unilateral power and they should call on China on that, no? Ang problema nga lang talaga sa sinasabi ni Haley is India is an ally of the United States. So how would you do that? Diba? How would you talk to India on the diplomatic side? Kasi it's only good in dito na naman lumalabas yung lip service na tinatawag natin. So dapat yan. You have to say, I would talk to India about it. Hopefully they would understand and they could understand kasi maraming dumadating na disaster sa India, especially sa climate change, no? So at least hindi niya sinabing hoax yun, but at least the only
Daming ang
ang ito nga yung tama si LTE dati na ang magiging woman president ng Amerika conservative, hindi liberal. Ironic talaga. Totoo, ironic yung mangyayari dyan. Kaya si Tulisan, pagka tumakbo sa GOP yun, mananalo yun kasi wala naman tumatakbo babae sa GOP. Puro lalaki karamihan. I mean, di ba, 2016 si Carly Fiorina, di ba, 2000, actually siya lang yung naaalala ko. Wala nang iba. Di ba? So, konting-konti lang. Wala talagang napaka-liit, no? Anyway. So, tuloy natin.
Right.
World and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting, and that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid? Are you bought and paid for?
Sorry.
Are you bought and paid?
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve: is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth and being childish is not helpful to the American. Decide on the next leader of our country. Number one. Wait a second. Number two.
Wait. Parang naalala ko si Cory Booker sa kanya.
As a kid, a single parent household, Mardens, who are devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life. I came to the conclusion that
Ano ba yan?
Para siya si Cory Booker.
Ay, never mind.
Yung parang, huwag kayong mag-away.
Okay.
She's done for me.
Ayan, no? Nakinig mo yun. Let's not fight. Cory Booker yung dating. Ganun pala talaga pagka African American taga peace Tsaka kinakwento niya yung buhay niya. 'Di ba si Cory Booker ginawa din 'yon noong 2019, I was this, I was that. Yun. Oh my God. I think he's following the safe script but he could have gone more. Pero nakita ko na yung sound bites niya on teachers unions. That's really gonna hurt him. I think he's not gonna last with that one. That's just.
I really thought he would be a dark horse talaga nung una, but then given how this debate had gone, he probably will not be. I really now believe it's gonna be Vivek who's gonna be the fucking dark horse on this shit.
Yeah.
Unless charismatic si Governor Ron So, sorry sir, Sir fan niya.
Hindi na, walang na sorry. Hindi naman natin kasalanan yun kung hindi siya charismatic. Sa kanya yun. Ano ba pakialam natin? Anyway. Hindi, totoo sinasabi ko
Hindi,
eh.
yeah, oo naman, oo naman.
Huwag tayo
No, I
magsosorry.
was, yeah, ay, fair
Wala
enough.
dapat tayong ikasorry doon. Yun ang ano ugali ni ano anong gagawin natin? Panalangin nating magbago in 24 hours? Anyway. Sige.
Di ba gustong-gusto din naman nila na ganun din yung ugali ng mga kabaretro nila.
Oo. Hindi na natin bawal nga. We're not going to police.
Hindi na ako nag-name drop lang, okay, for my sake. Baka maghamon bigla yung mga yun ng ano eh.
Hindi hamunin nila.
Hindi naman nila ako papansinin eh. Mababa nga lang pala ano ko. So, okay lang.
Papansinin nila yan kung nag-live stream tayo ng Rapid Tulpo siguro, which we don't do.
Hindi. Yung dalawang yun, hindi. Yung isa, oo. Sumama pa yung isang dating teacher.
Teacher ba yun? Well, anyway.
Si Andy. Oo.
Well, we don't really care. I don't care. Okay. Actually, now, going back to Tim Scott, nangihinayang talaga ako.
Protecting America.
Nangihinayang talaga ako dito sa ano niya. Parang, yung kasing ganyang appeal, yung ganyang pang Democrat yan eh. Hindi, totoo sinasabi ko. Kasi mas galit ang Republican eh. Gusto nila nagagalit sila eh. Hindi naman pagalit yung Anyway, hopefully he rebounds next debate. So, probably there's still a glimmer of hope. Diba? And like what I've said, it's a numbers game.
If we want the environment to be better, and we all do.
Hindi lang yun. Yung polling din. Yun yung parang maghihigpit na ata si RNC Chair McDaniel eh. Nung una niluwagan niya lang eh. Parang ito yung equivalent ng Mr. President,
Ano?
Ayoko sabihin. Ano yun eh? Sexual joke.
Okay.
Kaya pinaluwagan yung restriction.
Oo, pinaluwagan yung restriction.
Oo nga, para lang sumali si former president daw kasi.
Hindi naman na-attend yun eh. Kasi, alam mo ba, sa totoo lang, kinokopya niya yung mga trend sa ibang bansa. Katulad sa Pilipinas, kinopya niya si Duterte noong 2016. Kinokopya naman niya ngayon si President Marcos. Hindi na-attend kasi malaki na yung lamang. But of course, given the nature of American polling, hindi yun magtatagal. No? Unlike dito na nagtagal nga.
Well, unless we are proven wrong, sir.
Alin? Ayun na nga.
Unless you're proven wrong na
unless I'm proven wrong that hindi magi-stagnate yung campaign ni Trump if he skips debates, di ba? So, may possibility rin yun. Actually, mas malakas nga. Pero, given yung pinakita ko sa'yo sa Real Clear Politics, hindi naman laging nananalo yung early lead eh, kahit sa incumbent. And we can't consider Trump as an incumbent kasi hindi siya nakaupo. He would be the first president to actually be elected since Grover Cleveland to actually have
if he can pull it off.
Which of course, if he can pull it off, tama. So that would be once in a generation. No? So we can't really say he's an incumbent. Kasi kung incumbent siya,
kahit ano pang pagmamalaki niya.
Kung incumbent siya, edi sana wala yan, di tumatakbo yan. Hindi tumatakbo si Ramaswamy, hindi tumatakbo si Ronda Papa.
Walang case against him.
Walang kaso. Mike Pence won't be looking like a jerk in the debates, di ba? So, wala yan. Hindi. Hindi, ibig sabihin, hindi siya incumbent, di ba? So, anyway. Oo. Maghahanda na ako sa mga Trump supporter. Kasi sa sinabi ko na hindi siya incumbent. Lalo na yung kaibigan natin.
Yung isa pang J. Ayun na.
Oo.
Ay.
Oo. I wanna punch daw. Sige. Pero ako mauuna.
Good luck pag nagkita.
Pag nakita tayo, uunahan kita syempre. Ayoko magpasapak. Hindi ako tanga para magpasapak sa iyo, no? Anyway.
Let's continue this. Ayoko na.
Best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why it's right. America,
Do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy. I talk quick. Our
Nako po, stammer.
in half
Problem.
in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage, devastating our own economy? Let's bring our jobs home.
So parang ang thought ko dito is, so gusto mo pa makipag-compete sa emissions? Parang ganun.
Yun nga eh. Anyway.
I mean,
I think he's
fine.
he's trying to be compassionate. But
Sabi ko nga last time,
do the same thing only in a nicer way.
he's trying to, yun nga eh, parang ganun din si Senator Fetterman na parang he doesn't wanna break the union way of life of working in the factories. Like, okay, hindi naman natin dapat or hindi dapat nila kait yun. Pero, what about the environment that your children are gonna live? Especially in the rural America. Or I mean, in the rural counties, diba? Like, you want to keep your rural places to be intact, not really gentrified, but then, nagiging gentrified in a way because ang daming industrial environmental damaging places. So, yun. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And the problem or it's a concern na hindi na improve yung R&D on the science of the renewables. So, ayun.
Have a lot of different topics to get to.
Yeah, we do. We thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming will weigh in on what could be a defining issue in the 2024 campaign. The first Republican debate continues.
I'm actually enjoying this. I'm interested to see how I'm actually on about some Democrats. I really don't know about hype. He not
confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well to your city and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well, especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country.
30 weeks is
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's
patay. Ito yung type ng pro-life na gusto ko eh. Like, ito na kasi yung ano ko eh. Like, ano na ako, hindi na pala talaga ako pro-choice. Parang pro-life na ako in a way. But, in a condition na ayokong ipalaglag nga ng mga nagiging pregnant women yung magiging anak nila. Lalo na kung wala namang medical complications. So, for me, like I said over many times, like, just have it adopted. Like, put it up for adoption if you don't really want it. Ayun lang naman yung akin dun. So, yeah,
I think
abortion rights for medical purposes.
That's the winning centrist idea that both sides don't want. Yung isa completely abortion, yung isa naman completely completely ban it, which in both ways doesn't work. So tama naman to. Actually, Haley, since she's a woman and she probably understands it better than men, has the winning side here. Kasi ang sabi niya rin, napanood ko na yung soundbite na to, na dapat may common consensus talaga. Kasi kung wala, malulugi na naman ang GOP, madidemonize na naman ang GOP na parang wala silang pakialam sa mga kababaihan, no? So,
And
which
the
is wrong,
same,
right?
and I, sige, kaya po muna. I'm sorry.
So, yung atin kasi, there has to be an opening for abortion, and that is enforced by Roe v. Wade noon na in-overturn ng Dobbs, di ba? Kasi ang nangyari sa Dobbs, ang stakeholders nila doon, puro conservative. When you try to change a policy, a decision in court, you have to take everyone's argument, no? So hindi lang pwede na pocket may nagsabing dati akong supporter ng Roe v. Wade pero ngayon ganito. If hindi siya professional at hindi siya naging medical practitioner, that person needs to be part of the second opinion, third opinion when you make a legal decision. So yun yung dahil nga sa conservative yung dominance sa Supreme Court nila na overturn, diba? But there has to be a common consensus. Try to find a common ground para sa amin kasi, no? If sobrang late na ng abortion, hindi na pwede. Okay? Kasi ang pagkakaalam ko, medically speaking, no, and I hope na you can correct me if you know it, na mga pag 5 months na ang baby, merong buhay na yon. No? So, late-term abortions can be banned. Diba? If talagang ayaw nila federally, pwede naman nilang gawin yon statewide. Kasi yun din ang kinalabasan, di ba? Nag-ban sila ng national abortion, pero ano pa rin yung mga states. They still wanted abortion rights. So, in Kansas, in Ohio, di ba? Kasi people have to be given that liberty to decide for themselves. Which was not done by the Dobbs decision. So, yun yung tama. Kasi, kung ipipilit lagi natin na pro-abortion, okay, sige, ipuwersa mo yan. Eh di nagkaroon nga talaga ng alienation. And you're also not letting people decide. Diba? So, yun lang.
I agree naman doon. Right, si ano daw, si Josh, gusto magsalita?
Oo. Ito, meron akong funny story, no? Pero may parang structure yung pagkakasunod-sunod, di ba? Masundutan ko lang to. Alam niyo bang sa GC namin, nag-away kami nito ni Jay. Nakakatawang story to kasi amused talaga ako sa GOP base ngayon. Kasi wala si President Trump, di ba? Si former President Trump. Tapos yung nagiging parang bago nilang cheerleader ngayon, itong si Vivek Ramaswamy, like, anong nangyayari ngayon sa Republican base? Talaga bang na-hostage na sila nung radical alt-right MAGA base to the point na itong sila Nikki Haley, itong sila Mike Pence, itong sila Chris Christie, hindi makaalagwa. Pero itong si Vivek Ramaswamy, Diyos ko, talagang gusto niyang iwanan sa ere yung mga allies ng United States. Tapos imbes na makancel siya, papalakpakan siya. Talagang sobrang ang layo na ng Republican Party dito ng modern day Republican Party doon sa dating Reagan na Republican Party. Totoo. Medyo okay lang EJ. No? Parang ang off timing lang nung joke mo. Pero alam mo yun, yung kaya ako na medyo napangalang inis ko kasi sobra na akong exasperated sa Republican Party. Ano bang nangyayari sa kanila ngayon? Really?
I guess for me kasi if I would answer that question, it's a grievances eh. It's a grievances ng economic decline din talaga sa lives nila actually. Pero yun yung nakikita kong so yeah, I pick off that answer tulad dun sa sinabing yun ni Angie Yang kung bakit nagde-decline ng Amerika and why they jump ship to Trump noong 2016 and jump again in 2020 with more numbers on this side. Well, short only to win the presidency. So yun yung view ko doon kung bakit nagiging ganun na yung GOP. Na and yung isolationist foreign policy naman kasi yeah, tulad din yun dun sa economic decline niya, like parang tama na yung pag-spend ng resources ng Washington to other countries. So, ayun, yun yung nakikita ko kung bakit parang gusto nga nila mabigay yung funding para sa states nila. But at the same time, may irony na hindi ko mapaliwanag yung irony. Ang labo talaga. Like,
Saka
hindi ko
parang
nga
ang
din
off
alam eh. Basta,
character na talaga ng Republican Party ngayon sa totoo lang. Magmula noong parang na-disrupt na nga talaga ni Donald Trump for the worst itong itong Republican Party as
yeah.
we know it.
Just to add, no, I guess, nung araw kasi, meron talagang isolationist wing yung Republican Party before World War II. So, I guess they're trying to revive it ngayon dahil sa yung mga paleo-conservatives, they attract people on their side, no? Spouting that we should be focused more on cultural wars at home rather than um, involving ourselves in conflicts we cannot avoid. So, I guess, nag-factor in din dyan yung mga kapalpakan ni George W. Bush sa Afghanistan and Iraq. No? So, syempre, kinagat ngayon niya na mainstream Republicans pretending that they are now more, they don't want na mangialam na sa ibang bansa, rather we should focus more on our country. Yung mga ganong litanya ba?
Kahit kumakatok na literally, kahit nagmamakaawa na literally sa US.
Oo. So, yun yung nakikita ko. No? I'm not saying that it is true. I'm not also saying I agree with that line of thought, but that is what I have observed. Diba? So, coming from a person that really saw the drastic change of direction of the GOP since Trump won, or since Trump actually started running for office, no? So nag factor in lahat yon kaya naging ganyan na yung GOP ngayon, 'di ba? So maraming academics ang magsasabi na the GOP is already losing its identity because they have given up on civil rights. No, they rarely talk about it. They given up on progressive economic policies because now they're completely free market, and they have given up on international solidarity. 'Di ba? So ang daming mga winnable na I mean, 'di ba? Pagka na-trace natin ang kasaysayan ng Amerika, yung mga progressive policies was actually started by Republicans. Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, 'di ba? So, all of them in some point also William McKinley. So, nagkaroon talaga ng drastic change, no? Yung international foreign policy katulad nga ng sinabi ni Joshua, ibang-iba kasi yung panahon ni Ronald Reagan talagang internationalist, panahon ni H.W. Bush hanggang do sa anak niya, 'di ba? Even yung mga tumakbo na Republican candidates noon like John McCain, Mitt Romney, all were internationalists, 'di ba? So nagkaroon ng drastic change. And we can also factor in, last na to, yung dissatisfaction ng tao sa mainstream politics. Yung mga mainstream politicians masyadong naging media savvy to the point na nagsawa yung mga tao para nakita nila wala naman nangyayari, wala namang nagagawa. So yung populist wave, no, na nangyari sa Amerika ay hindi nalalayo sa nangyari sa Pilipinas. Kasi ganyan din nung panahon ni Aquino, di ba? Nagsawa yung mga tao, yung thought of liberal democracy also stagnated. Kasi walang nakakamdamang change yung tao. So, we would bet on somebody that talks against the establishment. Regardless kung nagsisinungaling siya doon or pinapalabas niya lang na establishment, anti-establishment siya. 'Di ba? Kasi nagsawa yung mga tao eh, 'di ba? So, yun yung nangyayari I think sa GOP until today. Kasi hindi sila nag-self-reflect bakit sila natalo ng 2020. And that has something to do with, the COVID-19 pandemic, no? So, yun yung nakikita ko. I'm not saying na agree ako dun sa sinasabi ni Vivek or whatever that he's saying. Kasi nga, yun yung winnable strategy, kaya niya yung sinasabi. Ang issue niya nga lang, pag tumakbo siya laban kay Biden, I don't think he would win. Kasi, napaka-typical right-wing rhetoric na sinasabi niya. Diba? Unless you're a career politician, you can finesse it. No? You can actually find caveats na ito. No? Na sadly, hindi nangyayari kasi hindi nag-gain traction yung mga nagsasabi nun eh. No? Masyado na silang na-lurch in sa mga SOCMED, mga conspiracy theories whatsoever. Yun ang nakakalungkot dun.
Hindi niyo ba napapansin yung irony na gusto nila na mag-withdraw ang US sa Ukraine, pero parang gigil na gigil sila na sakupin ng Mexico dahil sa drug cartels tsaka dun sa migrant crisis?
Well, ano kasi yun eh, problem nila on their own backyard eh. So, no wonder why magiging ganun ka-desperate yung message ng mga Republican presidential candidates na to on fighting crime. Kasi it means hindi nila talaga kayang masolusyonan yung internal border crisis nila. So, in my view, parang yun, papaasa na lang sila sa ibang bansa or yun, hihingi ng tulong. Diba? Parang ganun. Well, that's how I see it.
Tapos, ano pang sasabihin ko? Yung ano pa, dito kay Nikki Haley, pagdating sa abortion, ito yung naabutan ko ng portion ng podcast niyo eh. Ano nga ba daw sasabihin ko dito kay Nikki Haley? Actually, pagdating sa abortion, mas leaning ako dyan kay Nikki Haley. Bakit? Kasi kung talagang conservative ka talaga, dapat you are for personal responsibility. Bahala ka sa buhay mo. Kung gusto mong ipalaglag yan, panaguta, ikaw na bahala, deal with the consequence after. 'Di ba? Yan dapat ang yun nga yung premise ng conservatism, 'di ba? Personal responsibility. Bakit itong yung ibang kandidato sa debate stage na halos iutusan na nila yung yung babae kung anong gagawin niya, 'di ba? And ang existence ng
Kabaligtaran naman
United
to sa
States
vaccines actually.
at saka ang existence ng United States essentially federalism yan, which means each of the different states bahala na kayo kung anong gusto nyong gawin as long as hindi na-jeopardize yung buong union. Sa lumalabas sa bibig nito nila Tim Scott dun sa federal abortion ban, parang nasira na yung argument nila kung bakit gusto nila i-overturn tong Roe v. Wade, di ba? Kasi at saka napapanood din sa mga panel discussions dun sa MSNBC, nasisira na yung essence ng federalism kasi para saan pa yung ibalik mo dun sa states yung issue ng abortion, ano pang silbi ng pag-overturn sa Roe v. Wade, kung makikialam pala ulit ang federal government sa usapin ng abortion, di ba?
Na luckily, hindi pa nangyayari ulit ngayon kasi si President Biden ang president, which I'm thankful for.
Nga eh. And ito pa, on a personal note, medyo dun sa top 5 rankings ko doon sa present field ng GOP, medyo naaano na ako kay Mike Pence, seriously. Although gusto ko pa rin si Chris
Okay.
Christie dahil siya talaga yung may name recognition, tsaka siya talaga yung may guts na labanan tong si Donald Trump. Tong si Governor Asa Hutchinson kasi kaya ko siya nagustuhan, siya yung unang-unang nag-declare eh. Kaso nga lang, hindi siya kilala, sorry. Pero tong si Mike Pence, seriously, kahit na medyo naiinis pa rin ako sa stance niya sa abortion, medyo lumalabas na yung side niya na pwede siyang maging counterbalance dito kina Vivek Ramaswamy at kay Ron DeSantis. Ganun.
Sunday sandwich. Ah, Sunday sandwich.
Hindi, okay. Let's touch on that muna saglit. Like, why do you think parang siya yung magiging balance dun sa dalawang morons? Na,
Kasi itong si Mike Pence,
hindi, sige.
kahit na naging
Gusto ko lang
complicit yan
malaman
sa
kung
Trump
bakit.
administration, parang nandun pa rin siya sa traditional Republican side eh, na parang bumabalik yung GOP sa dating pre-Trump ideological ano niya. Ibig sabihin,
Siya yung
itong si Mike Pence,
nagbubuhay.
may potential tong si Mike Pence na mahatak niya yung dating base from the guys na mas malala pa kay Trump tulad nila Vivek. Bakit? Kasi ang laki ng experience yan ni Mike Pence eh. Tsaka yan sila Mike Pence, yung mga OG, di ba? Yung mga OG Tea Party, di ba? So, ibig sabihin,
Yeah.
kahit na may pagka-bunkers din konti itong si Mike Pence, may potential pa din ng Republican Party na bumalik sa katinuan.
Well, I do hope, pero at the same time parang sabi ko, well, let's let the Republican Party implode. Well, that's just in my view.
Parang nangyayari nga. Yun nga lang kasi kaya medyo I'm kind of playing with fire dito sa Republican fray. Kaya medyo, kasi ano eh, talagang di rin tama kasi yung kinokoronahan na si Joe Biden eh.
Pero wala namang magagawa. Ganun talaga. Ganun talaga. The same goes in the Republicans pag may incumbent sila.
Nasang part natin at kayo ng ano, pakinggan ko muna.
We should ban late-term abortions.
Yeah.
Can't we all agree that we should encourage a
Ano yan? Ito na, abortion na. Actually, kanina pa namin na-discuss yung mga yung kay Vivek, kay Ron. I'm not really gonna touch on sa abortion. Tama na yan. I said enough. I'll skip it for now. I don't really want to touch much on the abortion. Jesus. Oh, hell no. Right. Alright, I apologize. Tagal lang talaga mag-loading.
Crime crisis, the homelessness crisis, American cities. Are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime
Oh, hell no. I hate this part.
Move in. There are problems accelerated. They did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising.
Murders in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all up 30% between 2019 and 2022. Homelessness is up 11%, the largest jump in recorded history. Vice President Pence, a lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing those COVID lockdowns, and is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years. And we ought to be funding law enforcement, particularly in our major cities, at unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue to work out their fanciful agendas, to do a bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. that'll marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources of the American people. But let me also say it's about opportunity. I mean, a lot of people don't know that those Trump-Pence tax cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the Federal Department of Education, block grant all that funding back to the states. With a growing economy and educational choice and law enforcement, we will bring our cities back.
Governor Christie, another issue. This weekend here in Milwaukee, reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis on easy access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person along with Governor Hutchinson up on this stage who's actually running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So what a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals and clean up what's going on all across this country in these individual.
All right. I just wanna say this. Hindi ba nila hindi talaga nila maano eh, no? Hindi talaga din nila maarok sa utak nila na it should be there should be tighter gun regulations in the US. Like ito kasi yung thought ko na criminals should be if they want to own guns again, they should go to a mandatory health check, mental health check, and psychological health check for their own benefit for at least 2 years. If they did a capital offense, like yun nga, tulad ng mass shootings, and then kailangan ulit nila mag-aral ng gun safety courses, and then background checks on afterwards, if so they can be judged if deemed na ba sila to own guns or if they can still allowed to own guns or hindi. So ayun, yun yung proposal ko doon for them na dapat nila matalakay. But
ang mali kasi dyan sa Republic, ang mali kasi sorry. Ang mali kasi dyan kasi sa Republican Party, hindi nila pinapansin yung guns masyado. Masyado lang silang nagpo-focus dun sa petty crime. Diba? Tapos, aminin natin, mga Democrats naman kasi talaga masyadong mabait na minsan, masyadong malambot. Kaya, di ba, yung mga flash mob robbery sa Los Angeles, pati sa yung ibang crime na nagaganap sa mga cities, hindi matutukan eh. Pero yun na nga, pagdating dun sa, yan, kung sinasabi ko, ako, nung pinapagnig ko yung debate, yung crime, kapag dyan nag-focus yung Republicans, dyan madadaling Democrats eh. Kasi nga, di ba, as I've said earlier, yung mga Democratic attorney generals, masyado ng soft on crime. Kumbaga, oo, walang masamang magkaroon ka ng compassion, walang masamang magkaroon ka ng less punitive criminal justice system, pero walang in-between eh. Yung kailangan munang ma-improve muna yung prison conditions, tsaka kailangan mag-higpit ka muna sa prosecutions para masiguro mong bumaba yung crime wave. Diba? Ito kasi mga Republicans kasi gusto lang nila na yung tough on crime na maraming makulong, maraming mabilanggo, pero yung conditions naman sa loob ng kulungan at yung root causes bakit gumagawa ng krimen yung mga tao, yun yung ayaw nilang pansinin. Tapos yung pang gun violence pa, yan ang ayaw, hindi nila mapansin kasi nga lagi nilang idinadahilan Second Amendment. Oo, nababoy na nga yung ibig sabihin ng Second Amendment kasi yung Second Amendment dapat in times of war lang, di ba? Na magkaroon ng self-defense yung American people whenever magka-problema sila with the foreign invasion. Eh hindi eh, para nang masyado na nilang na twist yung ibig sabihin ng Second Amendment. Kaya kahit common sense na regulations para matigil sana yung mga yung crimes involving guns, di pa rin magawa-gawa. Diba?
Mm. Yun nga eh. Tsaka, hindi talaga, ayaw talaga nilang panagutan yung NRA. Takot na takot silang i-held accountable yung NRA, which is their funding machine, which sucks, but wala naman tayong magagawa about it. Anyway, ano sir, may gusto ka po bang masabi or wala na po?
Wala na. I think nadali naman na
see.
ni Joshua yung points. Very good. Sige.
Right.
Cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing a 10-year mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does a President Ramaswamy
do?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation. The problem in our country right now, the reason we have that mental health epidemic is that people are so hungry for patriotism, hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime across this country.
Governor, just say quickly. Governor, just say
Like the best answer, man.
They're the most faith-filled. For freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have some others like you may have on the stage. It's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal sort of cold cultural civil
You
war.
are
And we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that
people with the failed government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So I
Governor
guess
DeSantis,
tell me
Governor
finish
DeSantis,
addressing
I
that
wanna
slogan
wait
because I don't know what
your
that slogan
Brett,
means. We
I
need to
want
shut down the
weigh in, Governor
administrative
DeSantis.
state. And that's actually how we translate.
Crime
Brett,
has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low
Not
in Florida.
not in Miami.
We're happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so here's the thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing
Eto tayo eh.
Yan.
Rabbit hole. Eto tayo eh.
Welcome to the Zero Hour discussions. Anyway.
Ako, kaya na naman si Ronde Meatballs.
Totoo talaga ako actually.
district attorneys. They get into office and they say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida. And as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country. And it will stop when I get into office.
Okay, one more here before the break.
I like DeSantis a little bit on this.
Brett, Martha, I just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps them get the crop off. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
What do you think dun sa kinda for me it kinda makes sense, pero I don't even know how would the transfer it in the national level if theoretically he became president.
I don't think that's possible. We have to remember that Vivek sounds like a Republican Bernie Sanders. Woo!
Ayos
Okay.
din yung comment mo yun.
Hindi, wait lang. I think kasi nga ang urban-rural divide kasi hindi mo siya nga ano na talaga yun. I think that's already a given. So you can't enforce small town values in a very multicultural city, let's say Chicago, New York, ganon. I just don't. I see the intent is good, but I just feel that people in cities are not going to buy that.
More
And
libertarian ang people from cities.
not really. Actually, more liberal, to be quite honest with you. Yung libertarian actually sa mga lugar nila, North Dakota, Montana, those are really libertarian states. Yung mga fundamental Christians, nasa South yun. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, di ba? Yung Deep South. So, ang hirap talagang i-convert dun sa general public. Although the intent is clear. And ang maganda sa rhetoric ng mga governors is that hindi sila naninira ng ibang taong hindi nila kasundo sa paniniwala politically.
Tell that kay
They have to be they have to be accommodating to everyone, namely they serve as a governor to a lot of people, diba? So siguro toned down version si Hutchinson at si Burgum ni DeSantis, albeit wala nga media mileage yung dalawa, diba? So I would also comment na Vivek sounds like a Republican Bernie Sanders. I don't think so. I mean, ang atake kasi ni Bernie, economic eh. ang atake ni Vivek or Vivek is cultural. So parang siya yung I really hate to say racial things. Pero parang nga siya yung more diverse version ni Ron DeSantis. Pero outsider credentials ni Trump pinag-isa mo, kumbaga gumawa ka
Siya
ng
yung kinalabasan.
Chucky Doll, pinalabas mo sa pelikula ng The Ring, parang ganon. So, oo. So, ibig sabihin,
Gago.
he's a zombie for a good reason. No. When a zombie is with brains, maganda.
Ako kasi, sorry.
Pero I understand na galit ka na talaga sa GOP. I understand na wala na talagang pag-asa yan. Wala naman, ni isa sa atin, hindi boboto dyan. Anyway.
Oo. If we are American citizens.
Ako,
Sige, John.
madagdag ko lang. Sorry. Kaya ako nakapag-sundot ng joke na mukhang Bernie Sanders tong si Vivek. Kasi ako kasi 'di ba Democrat ako talaga eh. Naiirita ako pinapakinggan niyang si Vivek. Kaya di kita masisi EJ kung bakit mo ko inasar ng biro nung sa chat natin nung isang araw. Kasi alam mo yun, pinapakinggan ko yan si Vivek. Lahat ng mga tinitira ng Republican Party dyan kay Bernie Sanders, biglang bumalik sa kanila lahat eh. Na akala ko ba ayaw din ng revolution kasi communist, mas destroying America as we know it. Tapos sabay andyan sa debate stage si Vivek Ramaswamy. Halos kaparehas lang ng mga pinagsasabi kay Bernie Sanders. Mas wala man lang kayong kakimbo-kimbo masyado.
Mas delikado lang.
O, di ba? Galing na mismo sa bibig ni Vivek. Gusto niya ng American Revolution, di ba?
Kahit nga si Trump
Republican base biglang 180 dati nga nung si Hillary at si Bernie yung naglalaban, tarantang-taranta sila eh. Parang anong nangyayari?
Kaya din kasi I think they're saying na they want a revolution because yun nga, parang they want to take out the supposed liberal democratic order daw na it's a plague. Yun daw yung plague sa Amerika as far as I'm concerned on their interpretations. Kaya nila nasasabi yun. Lalo na si Representative Toilet Green. Gusto niya ng national divorce, 'di ba? Katangahan yun.
Diba? Tapos talagang dire-reverse na nila yung morning in America ni Reagan, no? Ano ba? Pero
Kasi nga napag-iwanan niya sila. Parang napag-iiwanan daw ang mga conservatives politically. Parang natatalo daw sila ng liberals. Ang ko dyan is, if natatalo kayo, then do better.
Tama, di ba?
Don't stuck too much to your ideologies. Kasi nga, nagiging out of touch kayo.
Pero on a serious note isa sa dahilan kung bakit ako leaning na ngayon kay Mike Pence, maganda yung sinabi niya sa totoo lang, maganda yung sinabi niya na the government yung has to be as good as its people. Kasi namang sa Amerika, ang dami-daming matitino namang tao, di ba? Kung hindi mo masyadong sasalsalin yung mga lumalabas sa RT, lumalabas sa CGTN, pati sa mga di ba? Pati sa mainstream media na America's in decline. Ang problema dyan, masyado na kasing na kondisyon ng utak ng mga Amerikano that their country's in decline, hindi nila na-realize na among the American people, hardworking, merong pa rin mga tao na pwede nilang ilagay sa gobyerno who can restore faith sa institutions nila. Sa Democratic Party sana, kung merong isang magsabi din ng ganyan, hindi na magkakaroon ng chance itong mga Republicans. Bakit? Itong mga Republicans, ang galing mong bola, di ba?
Magaling mong gaslight.
Panderer. Oo.
Sasabihin nila, we need a government that is as good as its people, but what are they selling anyway? Policies that are hurting Americans, di ba?
Oh,
At mga lalong nasisirang international image ng US sa ginagawa nila. Mas magbebenta sila ng ganyang idea na
oo.
we need a government that is as good as its people. Parang buktatok naman, di ba?
Oo. Yun nga eh, di irony talaga ng Republican Party.
Diba?
Totoo talaga. Well, problema na nila yan. And I think, well, President Biden kasi, to be fair to him, he delivered that message na tinutukoy mo. Pero, kasi I still see it na parang kulang pa din talaga. And we admit it, but
Oh, sloppy ang
he's trying
execution
his,
ginagawa
he's trying
ni
his best
President Biden
naman.
eh.
He's trying his best naman. At saka ayoko din naman ng too much idealistic of a leader. Lalo na kung hindi mo naman mapapasa yung mga gusto mo. Ay, well, kasi dati yung self ko na talagang idealist na talagang gusto ko mapa-implement lahat ng mga bagay nito
Natatalo kasi ang
kasi
Democrat sa
needed
pagiging
talaga.
naive. Natatalo ang Democrat
Okay.
sa pagiging naive. Ang
Sa
Democrats
pagiging
naive.
naive or
Ang Democrats
okay.
kasi naive. Ang Republicans
Oo.
naman cynical.
Oo. Totoo naman.
Tapos yung pang cynicism na prevalent ngayon sa American society, yun yung ini-exploit ngayon ng Republicans. At dahil ang Democrats naive, hindi nila alam mo nung gagawin, paano tatalunin tong message ng Republican Party, di ba?
Pero if we're gonna look back kasi nung 2022 din ng midterms, to be fair, nag-push back pa rin naman ng American people. Lalo na dun sa election denialism ng mga kumandidat ng mga Republicans in that general election na natalo. So, they're not really naive as we think they are. Parang, in a certain sense, naive sila. Okay, I'll give credit to that. Pero yun nga, nagiging maganda din yung messaging naman ng Democrats. I guess it only depends on who delivers the messaging. On who are the Democrats that deliver that kind of message. Na hindi ka man naive, na we know this. Yung gano'n. So, ayun. Yun lang.
Sayang tong sila Burgum eh, tsaka si Hutchinson eh. Maganda rin naman sila actually. To be fair, maganda nga yung credentials nila pareho. Kaso nga lang, wala silang name recognition eh. Tapos ito pang napapansin ko dun sa debate, talagang totally evaporated na si Ron DeSantis. Bakit? Si Vivek yung mas tinitira eh. Itong si Ron DeSantis parang nakatayo na lang dyan eh, di ba?
Actually, yun eh, saving grace yun kay Ron DeSantis in my view actually eh. Kasi it gives him time to recalibrate his strategies. Na parang, okay, hindi kayo focus sa akin. Mag-aayos ako. Pero I doubt na aayusin niya yung presidential campaign niya. Hindi ako naniniwala doon. I think
Wala.
it would
Masyado
still
kasi
be
siyang
terrible kahit tahimik siya.
yung problema dyan kasi kay Ron DeSantis kaya hindi na nagiging yung isa sa problema niya ha. Masyado na siyang dyan kay X. Kilala nila kung sino si X.
X. X.
Kung ba't tumayo si...
Wait lang kasi pinapatulog na ako actually pero mamaya na ako matutulog.
Kaya.
Tapusin na natin tong na to.
Sige.
Anyway, so ayan, yeah, we'll just wrap this up. Kaya hindi na ako maglalakas ng boses.
But like he's too quiet. I'm not real sold on him.
As former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis in America. And right now, whenever you look at the challenges in our inner city, there's three simple words that would be helpful. One, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people, making addiction counseling. That's what we expanded in Arkansas as well. Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities. As President of the United States, that will stop. That a former president who's under indictment has undermined by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top with the President of the United States.
Thank you.
Hold on. So, speaking of that,
Sira
right
kay
now you
Trump
are
yun eh.
live at Fulton Jail. Former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow. Next
put him in
candidates
there,
will have an opportunity to talk about the coming trials of Donald Trump.
It would be kind of real. Hey, y'all ain't gonna lie, man. These older guys trust the system. Small town values.
GOP primary.
I'm feeling Dakota dude, though.
The Americans
He
want to
cool.
hear
He's just
you
not
all
talking enough for me,
talk.
bro.
China,
Vivek going to
Ukraine,
Yeah, Vivek and
immigration,
Nikki been killing,
education.
and DeSantis.
But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the elephant not in the room.
I like TNT.
Former President Trump has been indicted in 4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in Georgia at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice?
Yes.
Please raise your hand
Everybody
if you
better
would.
raise their hand. Vivek first. What?
They some followers. They some followers. Just saying, Vivek was the first one to throw it up. Vivek a real one, man. For what?
Christy, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this.
What do you think of that moment? I see it obviously as a, oh, I want to be former President Trump's VP. Like, I mean, I'll give credit to the guy saying na they're just auditioning to be my vice president, and in a way, that's kind of true. So,
Yeah. Ang nakakalungkot lang talaga na, well, tama yung sinabi ni Taylor Swift. It's not your dad's Republican Party anymore. Anyway, yun lang. Wala lang akong masabi.
okay.
Look, I'm doing this.
And
not
I know
this.
you didn't.
He like,
What's and look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay?
you too fat. You president.
Now, whether or not,
Nalakpakan pa rin
whether or
siya.
not you office of president of the United States.
Papalakpakan ka, and then dun sa sinasabi mo yun na it's obviously the direct na patira dun sa poon nila. So I guess, pero at the same time, it's another meaning of that is parang patira niya rin kay President Biden, which is obviously yun naman talaga yung nangyayari. So ayun.
And booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth.
Yeah, man, you can't go against.
Well, you just lost, buddy.
Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man.
Bite his ass off.
Ito naman mga Kuno mo mga African Americans na to, love na love si Ramaswamy.
right now. But I'm not running for president of
Fuck
MSNBC.
you, man. Gustong-gusto nila yung mga nanonood kay Ramaswamy. Kala naman nila paglalaban sila niyan. Baka sa susunod mag-stop and
Itapon
twist
na.
sila dyan. Yan kasi. Yan. Pagdating sa huli, wala
Gipit.
na. Iiyak na naman ang Black Lives Matter. Patay kayo. That statement would
Running
probably
for
make me
president of
lose
the United
support.
States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent.
But we'll see.
Power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is
Oh, come on. We all know
God.
the RICO case in Georgia. The January 6th insurrection. Like we said over and over again. And I do believe the DOJ has a strong case against the former president. But of course, ang magde-decide pa rin yan sa dulo is the grand jury and the judge. But I really wish that one of those three major cases, legal cases against him, would be enough to, really stop him. But yun nga lang, we don't know how much of a presidential candidate being convicted and then being thrown in prison. Tapos, baka pwede pang kumandidato. It's a dangerous move, in my view. So yeah, like we really don't know. And
Hey, Hillary should be in jail.
I'm sorry, 30 seconds covered.
You sit here and an answer. You sit here and an answer.
Get him off the stage.
He stopped talking.
Shut your ass up. Get off the
You
stage.
shut your ass up,
You
man.
sit here and answer.
Homie not Christian. Why not you moving with the homie? The homie that want them up, they won't even let him go.
The more time we spend doing the time, it can talk as you want to talk about. So let's just get through this section. Governor Christie.
You sit here talking about how you want to stand up for the rule of law.
Yes.
And law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very, very true.
That is not true.
It's very true. I read it,
Because
and
there's
I
a
know.
difference
Look,
between bad behavior and illegal
by the way,
behavior, Chris. And you as a prosecutor should know better.
You know what? I know a lot
There's
better.
a difference between
I
bad
know,
behavior. And
I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've never done anything to try to advance the interests of this government except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's
which is true. Tama, yung sinabi mo, sir.
Yan.
Tataw.
Yan. Himod pa. Sige, himod pa. Baka makulong ka na rin. Anyway. Himod pa. Sige. Ilubog mo pa. Idiin mo pa. Oo. Kala nila, hindi ko kagawin yung sasabihin yan, ha? Ha! Sige. Ipasok mo pa. Sige pa. Sige.
We've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor. And I am not going to back to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said,
MSNBC contributor daw, mali naman. Taga. Taga ka talaga.
Ito naman mga African Americans na nanonood.
It's important to say that
Gustong-gusto
the
nila.
president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the...
Ano?
Yung mga African Americans na nanonood dito, gustong-gusto pa yung sinasabi ni Ramaswamy. Nako, baka bayad si Ramaswamy ng Black Lives, ha? Patay! Patay na. Patay na.
Democratic affiliated pa man din ang BL.
Ayun na. Yun lang. Yun lang. Hypocrite.
Ibang klase din tong si Vivek no? May pa-tira-tira pa siya sa MSNBC.
Oo.
Sa masyadong sa culture war. Pagkatapos nga nung debate, lumipat ako sa MSNBC, talagang natatawa lang si Mado eh. Free promo daw eh.
Oo. Di, tsaka wala namang pakialam ang MSNBC dyan. Napaka-hyper-democrat ng MSNBC. Iihian lang sila nun. Hindi katulad nitong Fox News. Yan naman, hihimod sa kanila. Kumbaga sa, nagtalik, unprotected sex yan. Anyway, I don't wanna sound like a Republican. But they're making me sound like one. Anyway.
Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution, regardless of the political pressure.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question. I have another question. Hold on.
That was facts, but they just trying to indict Trump. It's not
President
fair.
Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election.
This way it looked like.
So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two. Okay. Yeah, we should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray, because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has
Hindi naman
confidence
niya kaya
in our
i-fire yun
justice
kasi
system.
ina-appoint yun. Sira-ulo pala itong isang to. Anyway, ina-appoint ng, syempre pag presidente na siya, Republican yung ilalagay niya. Ano yun? It's so obvious naman. God. Tuloy mo na nga. Ewan ko ba? I'm just sad that this isn't my dad's Republican Party anymore.
lahat sila may consensus eh. Fire Fauci, fire Christopher Wray, and fire Merrick Garland. Eh, wala na si Dr. Fauci eh. He retired, idiots. Too little, too late.
Sinungaling. Anyway, di na ako mas bibigla dyan.
Pero ang gusto lang nila ipakulong talaga. Well, good luck getting a case against him. So,
yun na nga. So, kaya para may para
of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why.
Hindi, sige sir. Continue mo. Hindi, continue.
Wala na. Ano na ako? Parang natatawa na ako. Parang wala na tayong magpapala dito. Okay. Grabe. MSNBC contributor daw. Pag nagpa-interview ka sa MSNBC, contributor ka na pala. Bang klase. Parang pagka ano lang yan Parang pagka sumakay ka ng pal, ibig pala sabihin nun.
Si Kuntz pala, Fox contributor na.
Oo. Yan ang magaling.
Diba? Yan yung nakakainis, diba? Manood ka lang ng titirahin mo lang si Trump, MSNBC ka na kagad.
Himod, sige. Ilubog mo pa.
Sa ABC nga contributor si Governor Chris Christie dati, gago.
God's green earth.
We have an
So
here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agents.
But I will do that. That's not the question.
Iwas sa tanong. Tapos, sasabihin ng mga kakilala kong ang umiiwas daw lagi sa challenge at sa tanong yung mga left people. Tapos pag sila daw hindi. Sus, palusot ka pa JMC eh. Tangina, mga hayop talaga kayo.
I know, but here's the thing. This election is not about January 6th of 2021. It's about January 20th of 2025 when the next president is going to take office. I know what the Democrats would like to do. Future, we've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country.
Right.
I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq. Then you focus on the mission of all else. So we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win.
Wow, forward ha. How ironic, socially speaking. Fucking hell. Wala na akong masabi.
Ay, may tatanong ako kay Joshua. Sinong pinaka nakakainis na ngayon? Ramaswamy or DeSantis?
Inis ako ngayon talaga kay Vivek. So, sobrang inis ko kay Vivek nung inasar ako ni EJ, napikon ako sa kanya.
Ano ba sinabi ni EJ?
Kasi heto, nag-send ako ng napanood ko na highlight ng debate galing NBC News. Tapos, binabasa ko yung mga comment sections na go Vivek, puro if kung si Vivek daw pro-American daw si Vivek, pero hindi ako na, tapos sabi ko, what is wrong with you? Tapos bigla akong inasar ni EJ na, gusto mo na ba si Vivek? Parang nasira kasi yung train of thought ko. Okay lang, napatawad na nga kita eh. Pero yung nasira kasi yung train of thought ko na what is wrong with the Republican base kung tinitira na nga ng mas established na Republicans itong si Vivek Ramaswamy, pinupuri nyo pa rin. Parang siya naman yung bagong poon in case na ma-convict si Trump.
Oh yeah, I do believe that. Like I said, napakanga siya na.
Tsaka kaya nga talagang
kasi may ka.
Sige, wala na umasabi kasi
kaya nga mas inis na ako kay Vivek kasi na totoo lang, I will continue to stand by this. Nung nandyan sa debate stage si Ron DeSantis, parang wala nang pakialam sa kanya yung mga kalaban niya eh. Nakatayo lang siya dyan. Siya yung nasa gitna, siya front runner. Pero wala. Hindi nga masyado nagsalita yan ng substance na soundbite worthy eh. Lahat ng attention napunta kay Vivek.
Mas fiery kasi talaga ngayon si Vivek. I don't even know why Andrew Yang never had that moment, but whatever.
Hindi ko in-expect yun.
Move on.
Na si Vivek. Kaya ako naging parang nagbago na rankings ko eh. Laglag na sa top 1 ko si Gov Asa. Ang top 5 ko na ngayon, etong si number 1, Chris Christie. Number 2, si Gov Asa. Number 3, si Nikki Haley. Nalaglag na nga sa top 5 ko si Tim Scott kasi mahina rin pala yan. Number 4, si Vice President Pence.
Number 5, Ramaswamy. Gano'n. Joke lang.
Hindi si Ramaswamy, never Ramaswamy ako.
Joke lang. Sorry.
Okay,
I just want to make humor.
Sino nga ba ulit yun na mental block tuloy ako? Walo sila eh.
Sorry.
Diba?
Oo.
Ang nandyan, number 1 si Chris Christie, number 2 si Gov Asa, number 3 itong si si Vice President Pence, number 4 itong si Nikki Haley. Parang nasa top 5 ko pa rin yata si Tim Scott. Pero parang pagbibigyan ko na si Governor Doug Burgum. Tim Scott mahina din kasi eh.
Mahina. I agree. So ako naman, mag-rank na ako. Total malapit na matapos to. Tapos nakapos pa dito sa pinakamamahal kong gobernador. No? So magtatayo na ako ng lagyan na natin ng crucifix katabi. I will rate it out of 10. So let's start with Governor Hutchinson. So out of 10, probably 4.5 because of the name recall, but decent naman and strongly against Trump, although not as attacking as Chris Christie. So Chris Christie on the other hand, 5.5 I think nakuha nadali siya ni Ramaswamy doon sa MSNBC, albeit ad hominem yon, pero kumagat sa tao. So, ganun talaga ang buhay pagka moderate Republican. Siyempre, matatalo ka ng isang Indian, ironic, na maraming minority sa New Jersey. Sino pa yun next? Sino pa yun nandyan? Mike Pence. I agree with Joshua. Malakas din. So, probably 6.2 out of 10. So, all of the evangelical Christians that are at odds with the Republican Party might come home with this debate. So, dito na tayo kay my favorite governor, Honda. Okay. Siguro, hindi siya pinansin kasi pangatlo na lang siya sa polls. So, siguro I'll give him a 5.1. So, still credible to win but needs to get his act together and stop the ironic statements. Sumunod yung isa ko pang idol, si Vivek, no? So, si Idol Vivek, probably I'll rate him sadly, no? Ito ay bilang isang political analyst, hindi dahil sa love na love ko siya. So, sarcastic lang ako magsalita. 7.7. Yeah, I think he has riled up his base. Next is the Governor Burgum. Governor Burgum would be, let's give him a 5 flat. No, kasi nga name recall din yung issue niya. Although maganda rin yung points niya. That leaves us to Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, probably, I'll give her 7.5 kasi hindi siya nagpatalo sa foreign policy credentials niya and maganda yung back and forth nila ni Ramaswamy. So, tamang-tama yon yung atake niya kaysa yung kay Christie, medyo nag-fallback si Christie kasi binu siya ng mga tao. Doon, pinalakpakan siya. So, that's actually, optics yun. So, Tim Scott, 5 flat, weak spot sa entire debate. So, sadly. So, meron siya kinokopyang Black Democrats. So, hindi naman siya talaga dapat gumaya doon. So, diba? Like, Cory Booker actually failed on doing that. So, he should have not done that. But probably dahil magkaibigan talaga sila, siguro kumopya siya. Hoy, pare, pakopyahin mo ako ng ginawa mo. Anyway. So, magkaibigan yun, diba? Na ano yun sa ABC News eh. I guess I've rated everyone. So, yeah, I guess Ramaswamy Haley would boost in this debate. DeSantis would probably be Mike Pence and magi-stagnate yung campaign ni DeSanta. So si Mike Pence probably dahil nga may core group siya. Baka siya. Probably third placer. So ang problema niyan, just to wrap this thing all together is, would this affect Trump's standing or would it actually help Trump maintain his numbers? Kasi kung ganon, Trump would still be the winner. So, yun yung problema. Diba? Kasi,
well, I think pa rin yung numbers nga parang hindi na talaga mag-stagnate. Well, I mean, I can be wrong like you said, pero yun nga, I still believe na it would go higher. Pero pagdating ng primary election, hindi tayo magkakaalaman. Siyempre.
Kasi yung DeSantis would win certain states kung one-on-one lang. Problema, siyempre maraming tumakbo.
I think he would drop out early.
Oo nga.
Well, if he drops out early, magpaparinig na ako sa FP. Itatag na lang kita, sir. De, joke lang, wag na. Just kidding. Paano? FB, magpaparinig ako. Tapos
Na,
itatag kita.
alin.
Pag natalo about kay Governor DeSantis, like, sayang naman yung idol ni lang, yun lang. Tapos,
Wala naman na siya sa tinanggal mo na yung Anyway, I don't want to elaborate on that matter, but yeah, I get the point. So,
wait lang, let's have few more minutes na lang. Tanin natin. Ito yung nakakatawa eh. Well, napanood mo naman na
Let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is a front line of defense. Putin has said if Russia once trying to prevent, look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you choosing a murderer.
She was not going. She was speak.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis.
Vicky, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. But the fact of the matter,
And
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week,
You want
Nikki.
to go and defund Israel? You want to
Okay,
get
let me
Taiwan
address
to
that. I'm
China?
glad you brought that up.
Go and do
I'm going to address each of those.
I like you, nigga. I still like her. She aggressive. I like her. You gotta figure out that situation.
Make America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
Sinasabi ko nga na nadali siya doon sa you have no policy, you have no experience in nadali dito si Himot Boy. Oo.
foreign policy,
Wala siyang kwenta talaga diyan. Para siyang leftist.
Parang si Andrew.
Hindi, si Andrew kasi di naman yun na-focus ng policy. Si Tulsi yun, di ba? Doon sa Democrats. Dito, siya yung ganon.
He's still trying to answer it though. Diba?
He's still trying to answer, but it fell flat. Unlike yung MSNBC shit niya kanina. Parang okay, nabu yung si Christie. Ito, hindi binu yung hindi binu si Haley. Parang parang natutuwa pa nga sila na lumalaban. Anyway. Yeah.
Bagay yun.
Oo, parang yun, may sinabi si Haley na you have no foreign policy experience and it shows. Ay! Paano na yan? Tulisan.
Porket naging ambassador ka lang ng US sa UN. I mean, pag ganun nga naman, parang may credential ka na rin in a way. Tama. Fair point naman.
Oo. Ayun na. Bakit nandito sa idol ko? Ano meron sa idol ko?
Ito na, Mala Duterte.
You're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people who are being killed because we're not handling both. Thousands of people who are being killed because we're not handling both. And so I am going to declare it a national emergency. I'm not going to send troops to Ukraine, but I am going to send them to our southern border.
Duterte, pero mas worse.
You will send soldiers at the southern border. What kind of? That's
We'll send them to Mexico.
We'll send them to Mexico. Di parang ganun din yun. Pag hindi nila na-secure yun, di lalong nag-quagmire sa southern border. Parang Iraq domestic version naman yung gusto nyo. Di ganun din. Visit kayo.
Pero ang ironic, palihim yung tumatanggap ng illegal immigrant sa Florida.
Ayan, yan ang problema para
Basta kampi sa kanya.
Yun lang. Asa na yung mga law and order? Asa na? Wala na. Nagtago na
Mali
naman.
natin. Kaya nga dumami yung Cuban pati Cuban and refugees eh.
Sige, magtago na naman kayo sa palda ng puon nyo. Ewan ko sino na yung bagong puon ng it's either
Baka nga binigyan ng yan eh, baka binigyan yung mga Cubans ng yung mga illegal Cubans ng pardon. Basta mag-swear allegiance sa Republican Party, na tuwan-tuwa naman sila. I think.
Yeah, I probably think so. Kasi pagka southern border, scaremongering. Pagka sa Florida, okay lang kasi Cuba naman kayo. You are refuge from communism.
Or basta kakampihan nyo kami. Yan, tayo.
Yan ang hayop sa hayop talaga. Anyway, I'm not gonna say that anymore. Diba? Hayop yung ganun eh. Wala akong pakialam kung manood sila dito. Kasi hayop talaga. Sige, tuloy mo.